Well, hello everybody. Welcome. We're on the main menu with the main... I figured it might be nice to actually show off the main menu for once. Oh, let me turn the regular speakers off as well. Because, you know, we spent so little time here, and yet when you're actually playing the game, obviously you spend a bunch of time enjoying this music and so on. And I've actually let it roll a little bit as well so that we can hear it a bit later. Because unlike the other main menu themes, I think I mentioned this before, this one doesn't start like incredibly loudly. It doesn't really kick in to, you know, the core theme or whatever straight away. It takes a while to sort of roll in. Anyway, yeah, this is the new song. It sounds very similar to classic Guild Wars 2 stuff, you know, so sometimes I'm like, oh man, is that one of the original things from the original soundtrack? Anyway, hi guys, welcome. We got a lot going on here today because first there's the Museum of Natural History, Tyrian history, which I'm really excited to go in. And I just hope, now I've got to be honest, when I first found it on my original playthrough, I spent a lot of time there. So I think I've seen it all already on this one, I'm afraid. But, you know, I hope that there's something I've missed, and I will look as closely as I can. In addition to that, the first big patch for Secrets of the... I've actually put it in the title here today. The first big patch for Secrets of the Obscure came out. I was very close to doing a patch video. Very close. And I might even still do one, I don't know. Actually, I think it was yesterday, actually, it came out. But there's a lot really happening with it. There are new story achievements, which we'll be going back to do. There's a new achievement in one of the maps. So here, for example, Story Journal. We've already seen all of Act 1. There's this now, which is to sneak through the camp without being caught. And also there's this, find and read the Asher Award communiques. These are the two journals. And I think these are basically... These aren't, like, newly coded or anything. It's just... they never made it for the original release for whatever reason. And now they've just retroactively gone back. And it's kind of funny, you know, I gave you... And I said this was a crappy argument at the time, but I gave you guys that comment before. I said, you know, if you compare... If you're looking at expansion length, we can look at, say, Act 1 Ender Dragons, or you can look at, say, Act 1 Path of Fire. You can get a sense of how much there is achievements-wise, Act 1 Heart of Thorns. And then when you look at Act 1 Secrets of the Obscure, it was... You couldn't even scroll. It was very, very little there. And then with Act 2, you couldn't scroll. Now that these are in, it's bulked out a bit more, which I suppose addresses what I already thought was kind of a crappy argument anyway. That's not a great way of judging the actual content quality or, you know, quantity or whatever, or depth. But yeah, so all three acts got some new ones. There's one from the original map as well. I don't really know. We got a lot to do with all that stuff anyway. So the big thing though, really, is the Wizard's Vault had an update. So they pointed out on the forums that they were going to give you another choice. So you only need 4 things to ding your daily, but now you get 5 options. So when you look at the fundamental difference between the Wizard's Vault and the old daily system, choice is one of those big areas of deviation. In the old system, they gave you so many choices, it was really easy to bypass potentially good content. You know, go do a jumping puzzle, go do something big, do a whole meta or something, right? Oh wait, but instead I'll just, you know, I'll harvest some potatoes in Queensdale and boom, I'm done, or in Metrical Province or whatever, since there's a potato farm in Metrical Province. So, you know, that sucked. And when I look at the Wizard's Vault, I wanted to address certain issues. The other side of this is the PvX thing, where if I PvP, and I'm playing a lot of PvP at the moment, you know, I'll finish my daily instantly. And so now I have no incentive to go back and do Sanctum Sprint, or to do, you know, whatever cool things the PvE is going for. I really wanted the Wizard's Vault to address that. And I can do PvX, but it's not the same. I think there should be a separate reward, you know, a separate... It should be daily PvP, daily world versus world, daily PvE, and they can be easier, you know, because I mean, there's discussions to be had about, like, what is an appropriate amount of time to ask someone to play for a daily system. I think about an hour for dailies is a good middle ground, maybe slightly under an hour. 40 minutes to 60 minutes, I think, is okay. So, you know, asking someone to do one PvP game and maybe a little bit in a custom or a little bit in the Brawl Pit or something, that'll finish it. You know, we're only talking about 15, 20 minutes there. That's it. And then maybe 15, 20 minutes in World vs. World, and then go do something good in PvE. Anyway, so the PvX thing, this system didn't really address, but aside from that, they were very limited with the choice you have. So if your PvE preferences and it tells you to go do the activity for the day, you have to go do the activity. And so that was good in my book. I thought, well, you know, that means that in terms of this system making content evergreen, is going to be really powerful because people will do it. They can't go and harvest the potato. Go do the Sanctum Sprint, right? I think that's really good. But, you know, there was an outcry at the release. People wanted a little bit more freedom, and I think that that's fair as well. So ArenaNet have given you one choice now. So I like this patch. I think this is a good update because what it's done is it's given people that little bit of choice. But there's not anything totally stupid in there that you would ignore. And you still have incentive anyway to do it because you get a little bit more currency to get your fifth option or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty decent. I'm still on PvP preferences just because it is, and I'll say this again, I did an automated tournament just now and there was a spud in there, and it makes me so happy to see people in the guild actually in PvP, no matter what level they're playing at. You know, I'm really not judging anyone or anything like that. It's just cool to see people there. And I tell you, people who set PvP preference, they have it on easy mode. You play like one game and that's it, your daily's done. I actually finished my weekly almost on the dot when weekly reset last week because I was in a tournament as it went on, and it just ding 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 did all of this just straight away. So you can see actually I've got a ton of currency here. I've got 800, and yeah, so my recommendation is if you want efficiency and if you at least can find some fun in PvP, that's the way to go for sure. I don't know, I can't really assess others, but I probably need to change this at some point to see how the others are going, and I really think that they should so they were smart about the things they want you to do now in terms of like they don't have potato gathering, right? Some of the really basic shit. They don't have Vista Viewer anymore, right? Really dumb stuff is gone, which is good. But the thing is, I mean, that could have been fixed without doing a whole Wizard's Vault. There was a refinement approach to the old daily system. This has to be significantly different to be worth the whole rework, right? But anyway, they don't have really silly stuff like that in there, but I still think they can make some changes. I really do think activity should be on the PvP daily. I really do. They're PvP things. Anyway, right, so we got 867. I could buy 5 boxes at once, and I think I'm going to do that. A little bit risky, because what if I don't have 5 skins to unlock, but I'm like 95% confident that I'm alright. You know, in one of the earlier episodes, I gave that like 95% stat, and then I was totally wrong. And now it's completely freaked me out, you know. You've got to be careful if you're going to say 99%. Right, there's the pistol. So the other big thing about this patch is there's new special stuff as well. Which is interesting. So they had like that 90-day period where it's like, okay, do this stuff, and the 90 days is associated with the launch of Secrets of the Obscure. So obviously it's all a bunch of Secrets of the Obscure stuff. There you go, the hammer. We're nearly done with that now. And I assumed they would just leave the special category now. I assumed that they would leave it until the 90 days was up. We're now on 54 days. But, no, they've just sort of mid-season. So to speak, special is kind of like a season, really. You know, it's nowhere near as good as in other games. When I imagined, before this expansion came out, like an idea of a revamp to the daily system or to the login rewards, I think, like, the kind of experience I had in Fallout 76 with, like, the board that you progress through and stuff, I thought it would be, you know, something really meaty. But, this was essentially our season, you know. It was just a couple of things, and then riding the ley line, the sky scale thing. Well, they've added a bunch more now, so 15 T3 rifts. I think that's quite tricky, but at the same time, that's going to overlap with, like, obsidian armor, so people will do it anyway. Do the meta event to unlock the Wizard's Tower again. So just a couple of reasons to go back to the early map, I guess. Do the strike mission, which we'll do. So some of this is really easy. And the nice thing, and I kind of like this as well, you know, it's a way of ArenaNet saying, right here with this patch, you know, we're a bit into Secrets of the Obscure now. This is right around the time people are starting to think, fuck this game. You know, this is right around when people are turning their backs on it. They're looking at other things. They're being a little bit fickle. They're not quite sure if they want to keep going. And boom, ArenaNet adds a bunch of really rewarding stuff that just says, okay, keep it up kind of thing. I think that's quite smart. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, once these 54 days end and we're into the new 90-day cycle, they do it again. They punctuate the middle with an expanded set of things. But yeah, so that's a big part of the patch. What else happened? It's Fractal bonus event right now. which I kind of think we will do the Silent Surf fractal. We will do it probably during this week because there's bonuses at the moment as well, and it's something for us to learn and have fun with. And then also there was a Black Lion update. So speaking of that, my little situation here, we have more skins now. On the previous episode, I got a full one of the rare collections off of the TP. I've just done the same, just with another one, except I salvaged. Now, one of you guys in the comments, the YouTube comment, said, "Oh my god, WP, that was really painful to watch, because in the expansion there are provisioners tokens that let you trade each provisioners vendors that let you trade each of these for 5 tokens a pop, that is painful." That is really painful that I missed that. So I'm going to go to the Wizard's Tower and have a little look here at if that's true. And that would mean that this is kind of a weird scenario. Nearly never is it worth right-click and selecting Unlock Skin. Nearly never. Because it's going to account bind it anyway, and unless you're going to equip it. But as a veteran player, are you going to equip it? I mean, come on, obviously you're not. We'll get the other provisional tokens while we're at it as well, like in Light Touch. It's nearly never worth it, but this would be one of those situations where it is, because you can actually still get some different value. Instead of, I mean, salvage, you obviously get salvaging materials, but it's nowhere near as good. You know, if you think about this, if I salvage, I might get 3 ectos. I have to spend 5 on a single token. Or I can trade each skin for 5 tokens. You know, it's just an insane value. So we'll go have a look at that. I need to keep up with this. And if anyone in chat actually knows exactly where that vendor might be, it might not be true. The thing is, it was definitely true for the ones I salvaged on the previous part. I don't know whether it's definitely true for this new set, so we'll have to have a look. Oh my god. My instinct is always to come up here to the raid, but no, we're going much further. Right. You feel like that? So yeah, anyway, hello to everyone in chat. I haven't really been looking here, have I? Since the defender objectives a few months ago, this is killer nerf for the weekly. Oh, with World vs. World? Yeah, I don't know. World vs. World was always a little bit iffy. See, actually, here's a criticism of the Wizards Vault, the way that they've done it. The previous daily system, which itself was a rework, okay, that previous iteration, what they had done with that rework is they had said, okay, we'll tell you to do 3 for your daily or whatever, but each individual daily we make, we can put special bespoke rewards on. So this daily gives you, you know, a writ of XP and a resonating currency, and then they butchered the resonating currency, so that all got fucked. But you know, some of them would be like, okay, you get extra materials if you did the gathering thing. World vs. World, it was actually, and the PvP one, they weren't bad because you would get potions. You get World vs. World potions for ranking up in World vs. World, or PvP potions for the XP, for the reward track in PvP. Those were satisfying. So even despite everything I just said a second ago, the fact that I didn't really have any incentive to PvX under the old system, I did have a little. I would still go to World vs. World when I was into World vs. World enough. I'd be like, okay, I'll make sure to tag a veteran creature or something because I'll get a potion out of it. You don't even get the potions anymore. I mean, that's it. It's over. So it kind of is worse in that way. Also, I hate the UI now that there's this slight scroll with the 5th. Well, I don't hate it. And I suppose there's lots of scrolling here. Whatever. Maybe it doesn't even happen at all UI scales anyway. Wow, why are my eyes so blurry right now? Jesus Christ. Right, we're looking for a provisioners token icon. Somewhere on the map. And I don't... Oh no, I do see one. Quite near us, actually. Around this corner, it seems. There. So, Ren Scorchmaul. Let's see what you've got. So, Ascended Crafts... Charged quartz, which if I ever remembered to do, you know, that's a really good thing to keep in your shared slots, but is still annoying even when it's up there to like replenish. Buying stuff. Oh, recipes for the Storm's Eye stuff. I didn't realize this, that I had, by going to the TP, I had skipped even buying the recipes. I probably will get these ultimately. I actually just on End of Dragons went through and got as many recipes as I could because I'm quite satisfied by getting recipes in the game. In fact, guys, they've done even more stuff with the crafting UI. This is one of those things I don't really understand. Why are they focusing so much on the crafting UI at the moment? See this? This is all my professions here. Everything I can make. And you can now filter. A really good filter is this one, by have materials. So the only thing on the list now are things I can actually craft, which is really good for like when you're looking at the refinement section or whatever. I mean, look at all of this. Look at this. And it's interesting. I can only assume that they have some cool plan for crafting in the upcoming mini X packs. Or looking at metrics, they've seen that for somehow, because this is a fringe part of the game as far as I'm concerned. This is not the way that Guild Wars is designed. Doesn't really lend itself to, you know, with a global TP, so you don't have server-based economies that people corner individual things based through their craft. They don't have the rat race or gear grind, so pretty much everyone's a max level crafter straight away. The discovery system isn't like fluid or dynamic in any way, so there's no such thing as like a guy that can craft something because he discovered the recipe and no one else did. There's nothing in the game that really... You don't play Guild Wars as a crafter. Do you know what I mean? You're not your guild's crafter. They have had opportunities and they've tried to do that stuff, particularly with the launch of Heart of Thorn, scribing and all that. But it's not really a thing, so I don't know. I mean, maybe they've got this idea that if they emphasize crafting, if they work on the UI for crafting and stuff, maybe they can leverage new crafting disciplines as features in mini X packs that are, you know, cheap to make but big value. And I can see that. I kind of like, I've always believed crafting, despite everything I just said, I've always believed crafting disciplines look very good as a bullet point on the list for like expansion features. You know, buy Heart of Thorns, get elite specializations like the Druid, get the Scribe, get, you know, it kind of, and you know, I was advocating for the whole Beastmaster thing. But yeah, I don't know, or Tamer, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. They've done a lot. The past few patches have done this, or maybe it's just someone has worked there for years and has always wanted just some extra shit, and it's like their pet project, and they want this in, and they've been given the go-ahead, and they've gone for it. But as a veteran player, I mean, it's nice, but it's not, you know, gonna cause me to scream from the rooftops. Right, this guy does not seem to be the guy, because I can't see him trading provisioners tokens for any of this stuff. So, looking back at chat, is there a guy? Does anybody know? Maybe he's in one of the maps. You know, maybe he's at Skywatch. I saw somebody clipped that the other day. Yeah, the right click. See, I think this is quite interesting as well. The thing where you can right click a material and it will auto fill into the crafting. Like, yeah, open crafting preview with item. This is an interesting idea. It gave me a blank screen there. But, you know, like the whole /wiki, you know, I've got this. What I can really do, okay, for example, I can type /wiki in the chat box down here, okay? And then I can shift click this, and I can press enter. Now, you guys won't see, but on my PC right now, Chrome just opened, and it has the Stormforged Longbow page there. And on Wiki, I can see that it can be traded to an Astral Ward Mage for 5 Provisioners tokens. And I can click the Mage, and I can see where the Mage is. Apparently, they're in Amnitas. So there you go. Right at the start of Amnitas as well. So I can do that. Now, back to the crafting UI thing. It's a little bit like /wiki. I think they should do a right-click wiki context thing. Don't you guys think? Shouldn't I just be able to right-click wiki? It should say wiki, and then open parenthesis, more info, close parenthesis. That's what it should say. That's clear to new players who don't even really know what a wiki is or how important it is and stuff. The wiki's already integrated into the game. That would do so much for the game. That's like one of the biggest new player tips I have, and it really helps people know like what the fuck's going on. Alright, so anyway, here we go. I'm allergic to all tabbing during, you know, making videos. Okay, hello. Aha! So I can only do 1 per day, so this inventory is going to be kind of getting blown up for a while. But still, I think this is a good idea. What I'm going to do, though, before I trade it, I don't know if trading it will actually unlock the skin and therefore the collection for me. So I have to right-click, unlock skin on all of these. But I still have the items, you see. They're no longer TPable, but they are vendable to NPCs, and I can execute these trades. So we can do this. Oh, speaking of collections, another part of the patch was, I don't know whether I showed this off on screen, but there's a basic collection for a new skin set called the Eagle Eye stuff. You guys aware of that? That was bugged for me. I don't know whether everyone got hit this bug, but I unlocked those. I don't think it was on an episode. I think it was off screen. Maybe even before I did episode 1. And it bugged. Like, I have had the focus, but it wasn't counting for my collection. And I was a little bit worried about that. I was thinking, oh god, if this is a really fringe bug I've got, will they ever fix it, kind of thing? Like, but no. This patch fixed that. It did ding it. It fixed a couple of issues across the X-Pack, some of which I had seen, some of which I hadn't. There was some slight PvP balance. Really smart in one way, which was, you know, there was a much-needed Soul Beast nerf. Basically, there was a really popular Flavor of the Month Soul Beast build that got spawned out of a couple of things, but largely the sword rework as far as I'm concerned. And that got, I'm going to say shave, air quote, but it's a little bit more than a shave. And, but then at the same time, they nerfed Antitoxin and left Akeem runes. And I think because they don't play, they don't quite realise the situation with Condi Zerker at the moment. So that there's a good bit and a bad bit, just like all balance patches, right? There's a hit and a miss. Okay, so anyway, yeah, now I can trade this, and by mousing over I can see I already own it. There you go, 5 provisioners tokens, and we'll just remember to start getting those. What else happened with the patch? Oh yeah, then, okay, now, there's another bit of the patch which I'm very interested in, and that's the Black Lion stuff. By and large, I'm not that interested, usually, but they update, there's a read book emote, so I do sip coffee. By the way, I do have sip coffee. I do have coffee with me here today. I've been on hot chocolate lately, but I'm back to coffee. And in fact, do you guys remember when I went away, I said I had, you know, I drank black coffee for like 10 years. But when I went away this summer, I had white coffee for the first time in ages, just coffee with milk, but in like a glass cup. And I was like, I really like this. Somehow seeing it, looking all caramelly or whatever, was good. I've been drinking coffee with milk entirely since then. But right here, right now, I have my first black coffee. Again. I'm going to see whether I hate it now, whether my taste buds... Because I remember when I first started drinking this shit, I hated it. It was way, way too much. Anyway, you know, way too bitter until I got used to it. But yeah, read book. You can't really preview. They don't have an emote preview system. Really would be good if they're going to keep leveraging emotes as quest rewards. Not quest rewards. Collection rewards and stuff, as achievement rewards, and even selling them. I mean, really. So when I click that, it should pop, you know. Probably a novelty. I think it deserves to be in the novelty section, doesn't it? Probably. So I'm currently advocating for a new area of the novelties, which is emotes. I mean, maybe they could add it as a super category, but I don't know. I'd like to keep it as clean as possible. And then also, like I said before, I think they should split combat tonics and non-combat tonics. But yeah, so they have that. They also have this cape from last time, which is pretty cool. Oh, that's not even previewing. But the important bit is the Black Lion. I don't know if the chest updated. Yeah, the chest updated. So it's Maguma stuff and White Tiger. I already have those, so that's not useful for me. But there's this new greatsword in there, the reconfigurable greatsword. It's quite interesting, actually. I've never really seen that. There's a skin that looks a little bit like this, but that's pretty cool for an Asura. The infused Aurora stuff, apparently I already have. But there's a new Black Lion weapon set, so that's what I'm slowly but surely working my way around to talking about. And because I have been focusing so much on collections right before SoTO came out, I have a bunch of tickets, because when you beat a collection, you get half the tickets back. And I beat like 4 or 5 collections. So we can buy these. It's called the Vine Lord stuff. I doubt I'll really use it, but it's pretty fancy. I think it has like an unsheathed sheath thing where when you first wield it, the flowers blossom, maybe? I don't know. So there we go. So we buy this. And these are all trading for quite a lot of money on the TP. And it's weird that they're trading for so much. I wonder if it's because people have got a lot of spare change at the moment, because they're just now finishing their vault, you know, they're free 90 gold, they're free 90 mystic coins or whatever it is. And and then they see a new set and they think, okay, cool, I've got some extra money. But I don't know for sure. So I'm just gonna type Vine up here so that we can... Yeah, I know. Don't need to confirm. So I do have some tickets left. I think the way that you really earn money... I used to play with a guy. I've been begging him to get back into PvP lately. I've been begging him because he would do very well if he put the time in again. But who says he earned most of his money basically getting these tickets, and then what you do is you buy the set like you just saw here. So I'm unlocking this, but imagine I buy another, right? Another set with my 35 tickets or whatever. See, and I just get these ones reimbursed. And then he would hold them, and something like 6 months later, he'd sell them again. And that was it. That was his whole technique. Just hold for 6 months and sell 6 months later. And that monetarily set him up for, like, life, I guess, as far as the game's concerned. He said he's never struggled for money or never had to worry. And it's because these will be, you know, everything will spike. As soon as these go to 3 tickets in 6 months, or whenever it is, suddenly you get a lot of money from them. And it's true, you know, like, you can look on the TP, like, if I type Bright Inquisitor, I don't have my Bright Inquisitor set done because one of these skins, the Greatsword, is 125 gold at the moment. People are buying this for 100 gold. This is no different to any of the others. It's 1 ticket when it came out. 1 ticket. And if you had bought this, you would be selling it right now for a crazy amount of money, you know? Or I guess you figure out when it's going to return to the chest and sell it right before that, or a couple of weeks before that even, so that the market doesn't cotton on first. But yeah, and that's it. So, I got too many tomes, it doesn't really work anymore? Wait, what do you mean? Remember WP was in the library last stream, is he going to do the museum today after the patch discussion? Yeah, we'll go in there in just a second. Well, I say that, okay. Now, finally, the other big thing is that the knife gangs are back. Now, I don't really know how this works, but last time this feature came out, I was like right in the thick of Guild Wars 2 Master, and it was insane. Basically, guys, there was a Black Lion event where the story is that the Skrit break into the Black Lion headquarters and steal a bunch of like loot from the Black Lion headquarters, like mounts and stuff. And you would spend some gems on these items. They were called like knife gang tickets, bounties or something. You pop the consumable, and now when you just go and kill stuff out in the open world, it would spawn these Skrit. And you could kill the Skrit would drop Black Lion stuff. It was like a guaranteed wardrobe unlocker system, okay, with a couple of extra steps. But what it would mean is, while out adventuring, like, mounts could drop. And not just any mounts. Every mount that was in the game at the time, including like legendary mounts and stuff. And you know, I was on a quest to unlock everything, and it was amazing. We got literally every mount in the game during that. We had all the except, actually, to tell you the truth, I think there was a set like the hologram ones or something that weren't in the knife gangs, and I couldn't get those. But it was completely insane. Nowadays, you know, that was years ago now. I'm not at that level, and I'm not even going for that anymore. As far as mounts are concerned, I've basically unlocked very few new ones since then. Like, look at this. So this is how many mounts there were when we did it before, okay? And this is a lot of mounts. Look at all these fucking mounts. This is a lot of mounts we got, all right? It's kind of doubled since then. I mean, look at this. There's a lot of mounts there. So, you know, I really have no aspiration to get everything. But gliders and stuff too. But the system is out, and I am interested in it. And I think I will buy some, and we'll have some fun with it, and we'll see where we can go. But there was some very salty people last time I did it, because, you know, it sucks when you see a streamer, because basically what happened was the community started gifting me a bunch of these things, and, you know, it sucks when you see a streamer gets all this, like, privileged shit. So, you know, that's not really the focus, but it's a part of this, and I don't really know how we trigger it, so... All I know is the patch note said to come here. Do we have to speak to Evan? What do you want? Never mind, I see you're busy. There's privateer weapons. Oh, they don't even let me in the vaults anymore. Oh, shit, they closed this off. Oh, that doesn't surprise me, though. Oh, here's the new set. I see, you can actually just come in-game and look at them all. So it used to be that in all the pedestals down there, all the currently active sets or new ones would be on them, and you could go through multiple rooms. I guess they got bored of updating Lion's Arch so tediously every fucking patch. So they closed that gate at some point. I don't even know when they did that. Oh, does the console let me swap? Oh, yeah, I didn't know about any of this, guys. So this is Paladin stuff from the last time. And there's even a player here checking this out. I didn't know about this. It's collapsing star. The thing is, this still isn't that good because you don't like. I should be able to press F on the pistol and it shoots, or I should be able to like. Oh, I don't know. This is fine. Reflective koi. All right. So I don't know how we start the knife gang thing. Oh, here you go. Security representative. Hello, Commander. A gang of script broke into the vault and stole supplies from us. Mr. Nashbay would like you to ask to collect them. I need more information. Some of the script are trying to stow extra supplies in places we'd have to jump and climb to reach. You're pretty nimble, aren't you? Go on. You're welcome to keep any goods you find on them. It's worth it to us to send the message that this is unacceptable. Well, so where did they go? Well, we tracked them, of course, but lost them in the end. We'll give you the information we've got. Where are you headed? That's so weird that it's got map names and then at the bottom, like, specific jumping puzzle names. Let's do the Demon Grub Pits. They ran off to Queensdale and they're somewhere in the Demon Grub Pit. Oh, is this not the same thing at all? This might be a totally different system. So if I... What is this? Just go do jumping puzzles for Black Lion skins?
We worked hard.
Some poor fucker would have been shouting this at me in chat, won't they? And I just haven't looked. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is different to what the last one is. Then I like the sound of it though. Just because it's different, it doesn't mean it's bad. This is that whole evergreen thing that I was going on about with the the Wizards Vault stuff. I don't think it should just be jumping puzzles though. But I mean, jumping puzzles are good when you got a lot of people because you know, the spectacle. So basically, you think it's, if you can't do this jumpy, just JP, run all over kind of thing? This is really a Mount Legal jumping puzzle, this one. I guess it is. It's not even really much of a jumping puzzle in that case, is it? It's more of just like a little adventuring area. This is the trickiest thing, realising that you can keep going through the air. Well, there's an event that usually spawns at the end, and there's a chest. So I assume I open the chest or beat the event. Probably open the chest. Here we go. Ready? Man, you could just TP to friends or this. Okay, it's not dinging anything though. I mean, how am I supposed to? I don't get it. The JP ones are worth more points. Check your achievements. Is it in bonus events? It is. It's in bonus events. Aha, Black Lion Stolen Goods Recovery Event. Oh, you just get a weapon voucher? Oh, it's totally different. Okay, so... Complete 3 Stolen Goods Recovery Event achievements during the period to reach the next tier. So week 1, basic. Collect stolen supplies from thieving script during the event. So during this week, it's suggesting I go to all these maps. These are the jumping puzzles. I get 3 statuettes immediately. Well, how comes we didn't make any progress then? And we get a bag slot expansion. That's pretty nice. And 1 weapon voucher? Okay, this is a totally different event. I feel like as a veteran player, I should be able to look at this UI and instantly know what the fuck's going on. And the fact that I don't is either I'm a complete dumbass or this is not done that well. What? Do you just want me to do achievements in Queensdale? They ran off someplace near Ogen's lumber mill, it says. How is that the Demon Grub Pits? That's not the Demon Grub Pits. Scrit cave support. Well, this is just a Scrit related event. There's a lot of people here. This must be right.
We'll put the bomb here.
Surely
Ceiling
this is
looks
right.
weak.
How long is the fuse?
How fast can you run? Go, go, go! This place is about to come
The Demon
down
Grub
around
Pits
our
is a
ears.
separate part. Oh, okay. So what? I was waiting for the ooze event? Is that what I was doing then?
Caves in. Let's see the rat bat stick
Did you
to
see their
that.
script faces? Looks like they don't like us.
There's no tick on the Queensdale objective. Chat experiences exquisite pain. What do you mean? There was nothing to do in the room. Oh, there's a chest beyond the normal chest. Oh, is there? They added a new chest to get. Oh, okay. That's really weird. What are the big things I need to get closer to 48k AP? That's an interesting threshold that you're saying there. Why 48? Because I'm only at 45. Oh, I'm ages away from 48. Is 48 like the current... No, 49. Aren't people at 49 at the moment? Oh, maybe not actually. World vs. World is huge. There's a lot of AP for me to get in World vs. World. Also festivals. Festivals are full of AP. But you can only get 50 a year from like the annual. And so essentially there are people years ahead of me. You know. There's probably coming up on 1,000 that I've missed easily from that stuff. If I was like... Because I'm such a hot or cold person, you know, I just very much, if I'm not really into the idea of getting AP and stuff right when that festival's up, then I miss it. And that tends to be, like, still don't even have, like, there's a really basic achievement to just read a book, one of the Snargle books in Winter's Day, and I still don't have it. I guess this ooze isn't an event, by the way. I was sure there was an event, but maybe I just remember that as a dangerous ooze. So you guys are saying there's a bonus chest further up. I'm not necessarily mad that I didn't get this. I think that's fine. To be honest, it's a bit weird. Well, the chest not being at the end of the JP here makes sense in a 2012 world where it's not all hyper-efficient players waypointing everywhere instantly. Nowadays, though, it does seem a bit odd because people are going to walk up to the chest and waypoint out. Oh, there we go. There's a script. How did you find me? And then we go, we get the 3 statuettes straight away. Whoa, what the fuck? I'm so confused. Why did it ding everything all at once? Because I had the choice of doing... That's the only way they can emulate a, hey, pick a place kind of thing? So how do I get week 1 full? I go do one of these now, maybe? So he gave me 3 statuettes, essentially. You can do like 4 normal maps, or do 1 JP. What do you mean, a map? What do you mean points? Where? Oh, objectives. I see. If you now do the Abaddon's Ascent, you'll finish full. But why Abaddon's Ascent and only Abaddon's Ascent? Also, is that the Siren's Landing one? That is, isn't it? The jumping puzzles are a shortcut for the achievement. This seems so over-fucking engineered to me. And it's over-engineered in such a way that instead of getting, you know, X content, I spent 2 seconds in 1 JP. In Siren's Landing, but I'm done. What do you mean I'm done? Can't I now do the... I'm going to do the... let's see how it goes. Let's do Abaddon's Ascent. Because this is one of my favourite jumping puzzles in the entire game. That's only 2 silver to waypoint here. That's crazy. This one is so good. It's quite long, but this is... I mean, look at it. It's fucking awesome. Look at that tower there. That guy's got a cool boat as well. Alright, so look, I know we're not really doing Secrets of the Obscure right now. In fact, is this just skippable by doing this? There's checkpoints on the way up, right? But does the Black Lion knife gang thing respect that? No, it doesn't. I mean, look at that. There you go. We're done. Week 1. Oh, we get 2 Black Lion boosters. There you go. I don't think that's really made very well, but there you go. Obviously not everyone's going to know to do what I just did there, but... yeah. Okay, let's go. Bastion the Natural. Okay, so there are regular script normally in the world. And if you find them, you get a point. Because I wasn't even sure, like, what... No, I can't do a tournament. I'm in PvE at the moment. So yeah, you can find script out in the world, or you can just do a JP. Right, well that's fair enough. Let's go back to the Bastion of Knowledge. And let's go to the museum. And the other thing we're looking for, hopefully, is that other event to be up that allows us into that other room. There's a champion of gluttony in here. I think we tagged this guy last time. But to tell you the truth, I don't know whether I really remember what the lore was related to it, if there was any. So let's see this guy now. It's really... Since I moved, I don't really have any space to like work out or lift weights or anything, and I really think I'm starting to fuck my shoulders. I've really got to sort something out. Just do some basic exercise. Maybe it's just the way I'm sitting here at the moment. Because I've got like one arm up, like awkwardly high, and then it will be like this the whole way through this video. There's 2 achievements a week, but then there's only 2 weeks, didn't I just see? Or are there multiple weeks? Oh, week 3 of this does give a knife hunting item. Oh, really? Where are you seeing week 3 though? Oh, there is a week 3. I'm just an idiot. Okay, there is a week 3. I see. There you go. Well, see, I still actually have hunting bonds. I still have 3 of the old ones in my bank.
For it will make no difference in the end.
So, I don't think they were updated though at any point, were they? So we're trying to listen to the champion of gluttony, and also rejecting this invite.
The library has been purged of our enemies.
The old at-home Pilates.
I am not at ease.
Is that what you'd recommend?
They have loosened their grip, but their hands still clutch our throats. It's all too much. I can hardly breathe.
You mustn't despair, ma'am. That's exactly what they want.
Okay, you mustn't despair. I remember that dialogue. Okay, so let's check this room. I'm going to personal waypoint it. What I quite like about Amnitas is, you know, you're on a floating island, and you would think it's quite simple, and that there's not going to be too much. It's not possible to get lost, and yet these are labyrinthine, just labyrinthine enough that does kind of happen. By the way, we didn't read these, did we? Meditation, the ultimate weapon. Foundation of the Astral Ward. Did we read these out in the front area? I don't think we did. 604 AE. Okay, so let's be clear here. The Astral Ward are a branch of the Wizard's Court. And as far as I understood, they're like the Rift Hunters. Okay, so let's see. Beneath the Hare's second moon on this wintry night, That's already really weird, isn't it? Beneath the Hare's second moon? Is that a new Tyrian world-building lore thing that I've never heard of? Or is that like an IRL reference-y kind of thing? Beneath the Hare's second moon. Is the Hare a month maybe, and this is the second, or a season? According, according to the seers, maybe it's a season. Beneath the Hare's second moon, on this wintry night, I, Isgaran, acknowledged Tyrion as the first warden of the Wizard's Court. She will guide the newly dubbed Astral Ward in their pursuit of knowledge and Oh, they're not Rift Hunters. They're studious. They go out and learn things. And I guess that makes sense. Well, no, because I was wondering, if you're in a period where there's not many incursions happening, what are the Astral Ward doing? Are they now the aggressors? Are they now attacking people, so to speak? They will protect Amnitas and the court, and by doing so, they will protect Tyria itself from the mysteries that live beyond the veil. I don't know, it sounds like they're the fighters, you know, they're the protectors. Is Garin the curator? And then it says, I, Tyrion, first warden of the Astral Ward, sign my name in mine own blood as a promise to Isgarin and the beings of the wizard's court. I vow to protect the secret of the court and its wizards, as I vow to protect Tyria from the many threats that linger within the obscure. So, guys, what is the title of the expansion referring to? Is it referring to the heart of the obscure? Is it referring to the obscurities in the mists? I will act as a shield, or is it all of them at once? I will act as a shield for those who have no shirt. And I will watch the ancient magics that seep from the mists. While war rages as the elder beasts rise and slumber, I will keep my eyes to the sky and to the mists beyond. In Isgarin's name, Tyria will not fall to anything but its own actions. And that I'm okay with. I won't do anything about that.
Don't these guys ever give up?
You know, this thing where they'll never cross the streams is really weird. You know, the commander's crossing the streams right now. Here, this is such a weird... I will act as a shield for those who have no shirt. I mean, it's alliterative. I like the shush kind of sound. Is that sibilant or is that alliterative? I don't know. I think it's alliterative. And it's interesting they call them the Elder Beasts. It says, while war rages as the Elder Beasts rise and slumber, as if they're watching multiple cycles. But are they? It's fucking 604 years after the Exodus, and you're only just coming into existence here. Yeah, it feels very different, very alien. You know, very much like another group made it, another society with different names for things and different ways of thinking. Meditation, the ultimate weapon. In a time where our very thoughts and feelings fuel the forces against us, there is no better weapon than a mind freed from unwanted emotion. In my upcoming session, we will practice the liberation of our choices from the effects of negative emotions through a 3-step process. Number 1. This kind of shit is always so much easier said than done, by the way, but here we go. Number 1. Recognize your ownership of the feelings and emotions influencing your mindset and decision making. Reflect on circumstances both in and out of your control that have led to your emotional state. Embrace experience without reaction. Release those feelings rather than choosing to hold on to them, allowing for thought processes unfettered from negative emotional influence. All are invited to accompany me on my continuing meditative journey into mind state mastery. Join me, your friend and emotional guide Gull, for an Bastion gathering in Nature's Shore Meditation Circle. Better yourself. Starve your enemies. I like this. Kind of a pamphlet, but it's actually fighting the good fight for people to figure this shit out. You know, I'm generally not very good at this, right, in life. I think 99% of people are not very good at this in life. However, the one place I think I'm actually quite good at this, all right, is with tiredness. In as much as, I'm sure people that know me well will disagree, right? But in as much as I feel like when I'm really overtired, like, really basic shit will like aggravate me and I'll get like really shirty and ratty, and I think I can always recognize that, and I always say, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm just ratty, you know, and I try to rein it in. You know, I always know if someone annoys me, if something annoys me, I never get too hung up on it when I'm overtired, because I know, because I recognize and I reflect and I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm just tired, all right, it's not a big deal, I'm just tired, sorry, you know, like I'll feel the emotion, I'll be getting ratty. I will feel the emotion, but I'll be able to be like, yeah, whatever. So I think I'm good at that. But for all other things, you know, maybe if I'm hangry, or if I'm, you know, that's being irritable because you're too hungry, or whatever else might be going on, you know, I haven't had enough exercise, I haven't seen the sun enough, whatever other things might be affecting my physiology. I'm no good at recognizing any of that. But sleepiness, I'm all right.
I can't imagine sending them back. I don't know if they'd survive the trip.
And I must admit, it doesn't particularly stop me. All right, well, okay, so we're just gonna... Well, there's a portal there, though. A portal to the Hall of Secrets. I want to go in the Hall of Secrets. We got to do the museum, and we got to do the Hall of Secrets, and we got to get to another fucking Bastion.
Home is as important as repairing ours.
All exhibits are inert again! Success! Victory!
Now that the museum event just ended, it's probably a really good time to go there as well. But let's see. Will you let me in?
No, Urchic and Gladium have much cleaning up to do. Oh, yes.
Okay. I don't know how long this will be open. The game here, though, is in this room. Let's see if there's any interactables. There's lots of cool stuff here, like loads of really interesting assets everywhere. I know, I truly do mean everywhere. Probably a bunch of stuff that I'm not going to really be able to show off because I'm nervous that I'm about to get kicked out of the room. But the idea here is there's an event, right? And you have a special... all these... If I walk up to this, it does a ton of damage to me and knocks me back. So I have a special action, and when I press it, I can very briefly see that there's a barrier here, but not in this one. And so... And then it's like, okay, where do I go, left or right? And there's a bit of a cooldown on the special action. And when you got a Zerg, you can slowly see how people filter through. So, and you see there's loads of these archways like this. And it's left, right, and all... You know, basically you zigzag all the way through. And I'm trying to give you a brief tour of each room here first, before we follow along. And then that portal opens to a special place. Most of it, I mean, they're cool assets, but I don't think there's any particular meaning to most of them. This one's weird. I don't really know what's going on there. I've forgotten. Maybe a statue of Vast there. None of it's interactable. I doubt it's interactable in the event either. And there's a timer on it in the event. That's birthday cake. So then when we come through here, we end up in that corridor. Do you remember when we first got to this Bastion? We were following Wayno. And this is going to end with the anomaly event. Okay, so now we're in here. And the anomaly is probably going on right now. A little version of the Golem Mark II. No, not Mark II. Mark I? The tutorial one. The Jade Behemoth. And then these things which we've seen before, right? And there's no interactables, it looks like. We come through here. Yeah, and then, I don't know. We have a tag in here and nothing's happening. Did it bug somehow? Is that why it's all open? But we see the anomaly. It's something capable of making even Paitha scared. And then we run out. And come through the Giganticus thing, the Bone Skinner. You get the picture. We already did that. Okay, so that's not the best tour, really. I really wanted to show you guys the event. But there you have it. Now, the museum. So we've got 2 POIs and a Vista in there. There's a roof of the museum to look at. And I guess, you know, obviously the inside of it too. When's Guild Wars 3 getting released? I don't... I go back and forth on this all the time. But, oh, there you go, like this, see? You get a special action and it takes one of the barriers down or something like that. I go back and forth on this all the time. My current thinking, post Secrets of the Obscure, is... And this is a reversal of the last time you heard me talking about this. My current thinking is that they don't ever need to do a Guild Wars 3. And that it would be suicide and a terrible idea. Guild Wars 3 telegraphs to people to not play Guild Wars 2 anymore. It splits a community that already exists. What ArenaNet wants for success and money and longevity, and to continue living their dreams, designing games and providing fun experiences for people, despite the fact that the internet makes everything shit. What they want is new people. They want to broaden the audience. They want to get in outsiders. Now, Guild Wars 3 does that to a certain extent, just as Guild Wars 2 did it. You know, Guild Wars 1 was popular, and then when the sequel was announced, you know, they already had all this goodwill, so then it really fucking blew up. Now, you might get a little bit of that announcing a Guild Wars 3, but it comes at the cost of the previous game. So I've said before, though, there are issues with Guild Wars 2 that run so deep now, and the game is dated in certain ways, and the code, you know, and this goes from everything. This goes from philosophies to things people already have unlocked to, you know, design that you can no longer go back on, shit you can never take away from people, to even more fundamental stuff like the code base, you know, and how unwieldy it is to continue developing for and stuff. There's a lot of reasons why Guild Wars 2 is untenable now. And last time you heard me speaking about it, I was basically making that argument, you know, Guild Wars 3 makes sense. But I gotta say, guys, post Secrets of the Obscure, I don't know, I really believe in this mini X-Pack thing. Of course, right now, that's contingent on these quarterlies being good, and it's contingent on the second mini X pack finding something feature-wise to excite me. Okay? The next mini X pack needs to really, it needs that meaty extra thing, like on the level of a new playable race kind of thing. I think contingent on those things, I do believe in it. I think there's a world of possibility and stories and things I'd be excited to see, and I think they can incrementally push the combat and change things just enough that I think Guild Wars 3 would be a mistake again at this point.
Not to damage exhibits too much. Very valuable.
Okay, this event cycle's so fucking quick, it's unreal. So basically, there's all these monsters in here and exhibits, and they come alive. You know, it's night at the museum type stuff. So what are we fighting here? We're fighting Watch Knights. And they're actually unbelievably tanky, which is really surprising to me. Oh my god, and he just dodged a million miles away. Whoa, okay. So, yeah, I guess we could start high and then work our way down. So this is a Jade Golem exhibit, pretty nice. This is, I want the event done though, because it kind of sucks to explore and the exhibit is just wandering around, you know. So here's some Asura Golems. Here's another one, but kind of like with a weird old grey dusty texture. In fact, they all do. What's that to signify that they're old? Oh, these ones are from Rata Primus, I guess. So Rata Primus, let me see.
Good fighting, Wayfinder. Yes, very strong.
Rata Novus is the underground one at Secrets at Heart of Thorns. Rata Sum is above ground. Rata, I don't know, what's the new Rata? It has a name. Does anyone remember? I'm sure it has the one I talked about in the previous part. The one that they're making up here, that has a name. I'm sure it does. Now, what was the one at Sandswept Isles? That has a name, right? That was Rata. That's not the one we were just next to, is it? There's also a named one in Edge of Destiny, I think, that's underground. I think, don't they name one? Is that it? And then also there's the ruined one in Mount Maelstrom. Is this Primus? What's the one we're looking at the moment? This is Rata 10. Rata 10, which is also a really interesting mystery. Like, what Asura lived here when they get wiped out? Sometime between the two games. Rata Arcanum. Wait, you guys are just saying Ratas. You got in the same comment, tell me which is which. Because I don't remember. There's exhibits all downstairs here now. So that's the Cleansed Jade Mech. And by the way, what do you think when you think a big badass like Museum of Natural History, right? Or especially the one in the UK. You think giant dinosaur bones, don't you? Hanging over the lobby, all right? And ArenaNet have done that with this museum. It's so good. Remember where Rata 10 is? Your winky face, you'll need this info? Really? No way have they done something with that in this. Really? I'm really looking forward to these post-game collections, guys. I really am. The more that people are, like, hinting at them. I noticed one of them's to do with, like, tarot cards or something, by the way, which I think is such a cool thing to go out and collect.
Oh, Wayfinder! Is Urchik ever glad to see you? We got big problems.
Did this trigger just because I walked in?
Museum exhibit. Wayfinder is doing a great job. Urchik is very grateful. Gladium too.
Okay, let's just try and get this done. 4 more. Well, these are all dead. And then I'm just going to bank on the other players getting these as I try to go around the perimeter and see. Well, there's not really much else going on, is there? I mean, screw it. Look, you get the picture. Central Tyrian fauna, okay? Most of the exhibits are here. What have we got? We have a Doliac. We have a moose. We have a moa. And we have a lynx or a jaguar. Now, here's the funny thing. They're calling it Central Tyrian. So I like that as a term to describe core, Central Tyrian. As like I think the game systems have used that for a long time, but as the idea that the Wizards core actually consider this to be Central Tyrian is what I'm getting at there. So Central Tyrian fauna. Ungulates, avens, and large felines comprise one of the most common predation cycles in Tyria, and its disruption is a reliable warning sign of arcane instability. Recorded examples include big cats fearlessly entering human settlements, doliacs and moas exhibiting stalking behavior, and spontaneous inversion of the animals' major internal organs. That's fucking stone giant here as well, which I also like. Man, I need more cleanse for giants because that weakness is super annoying. Can we block the stomp? He's not going to do the stomp. Can I CC him? He's coded very weird. He's just standing there not doing anything. Weird giant. There's another one here. Oh, he's stomping. Okay, but the first one missed. Wait, what? It died? The stream just died. It says 0 drop frames. Oh, it says it died for everyone. Oh, it's back? Oh god, I wonder how that's going to look on the VOD. As long look, I don't want the live people to feel like total second-class citizens here. But as long as the VOD is okay, I'm alright with it. Man, guys, I've been playing a lot more Final Fantasy. I'm really starting to think about what I want to do in terms of Twitch and stuff. Okay, alright. Chick, I'm muting you now because we've heard that 1,000 times. We don't need to hear you screaming about victory anymore. Alright, so check it out. So all the exhibits are back. So what do we get? We get the Mega Sloth. A prime example of magical mutation leading to the development of an emergent species. The Mega Sloths have rapidly adapted to their explosive increase in size, strength, aggression, and defensive capabilities, to say nothing of their unusual reproductive cycle. As fascinating as these creatures are, planned tests in the field of controlled arcane mutation have been halted until an ethical framework is established. I like that, and that is very tricky ethics, as any sci-fi would tell you. Yeah, did you see him moved a little bit in the background there? Kerry noticed something really funny about this, ready? When we look away, okay, so he's not on camera, right? So ArenaNet have got like 2 effects on this, I assume. One makes them look stony, the other freezes them. But it doesn't, it like gets... What is that? Occlusion culling? I don't know. It's not on. If the camera isn't pointing at him, the freeze effect isn't running. So if I spin the camera real quick, ready? Oh. There, you saw the Karka did it. It's like the Weeping Angel. It's like the Doctor Who Weeping Angel thing, right? They move. You'll see they animate just a couple of frames when you spin around. When you look. And it's really weird. It was super prominent when the patch first came out. Like, you'll see he breathes slightly. There, see, he just moved his shoulders back a little bit. So anyway, when I first did this, I hadn't seen the event where they all come alive, and it just felt really weird. Like, it wasn't funny. It was kind of, it wasn't like, it just felt broken, basically. Like, oh, that effect, they should be frozen. I took them as legit statues. But now that I know that there's an event where they can move, I mean, whatever, it's kind of fine, right? So we got a stone mirror, a self-portrait. So this guy is called Orn the Mightier. He was an artist who lived in Timberline Falls until 1215 AE. 1215? Where are we in terms of 1215? Oh no, we're 100 years. We're right bang in the middle. His preferred subjects were wildlife and self-portraiture, which he depicted in cave paintings and sculptures. Stone Mirror is his only known realistic sculpture, and it was created in response to a condescending profile in which the... Oh, I loved this. First, before I start ranting about that, it's very cool. Like, you think of giants big and stupid and, you know, unwitting and unreflective, and, you know, they don't understand art or anything, but this guy actually seems to contemplate a lot of that stuff. Anyway, here it says, Stone Mirror is his only known realistic sculpture, and it was created in response to a condescending profile in which the human author speculated that Orn's abstract style was a limitation rather than a choice. He gifted the nearly life-size piece to Mabon, but he did not consider it an artistic work. I really like this, okay, and I feel like in some ways this speaks to me. I think, as like a pundit, as someone who offers criticism quite often, I very often speculate. Oh, this is only this way because they're stuck, they're limited, they couldn't do this, you know. And when it comes to like Guild Wars 2, it's like, oh, it's development constraints, or it couldn't be this way because of the, you know, I very rarely just, if something's shit, or to me, if my personal opinion is that something's shit, I'll just take that as like, oh, the only way this could possibly have happened is because they were limited. I'm sure I've made that mistake 100,000 times, and that must be so annoying. It must be so annoying for the true artist who's like above all that, you know, to be like, no, I made this choice deliberately, you know. And I get that, you know. I think anyone feels that if they spend enough time in whatever field. You know, it's a little bit like with my fashion wars, you know. For a long time, I would just like make, like my Flesh Abomination character. It's an ugly character, you know, but it's deliberately ugly, you know. Anyway, I just like that. I really like that observation. And of course, the event's up again. I'm gonna kill these, but only because I can't read the lore with them trying to kill me. So. This is really awkward. I don't like this bit of the build right now where I don't quite have my fire cooldowns back. Holy shit, he died pretty quick. So the elite to refresh them is a bit awkward. Anyway, the Karka, which is over there now, scaring at me very scarily. Oh, and now it's moved in. And it's facing the wrong way, I'm afraid. Extensive studies of the Karka have revealed that territorial aggression is strategic. Okay, the context on before we get into this, why are we talking about their territorial aggression? Why might that be interesting in Secrets of the Obscure? Well, you have to remember that the previous expansion, End of Dragons, just revealed to us that the Deep Sea Dragon is not what we thought it was, and you know, maybe something else is going on out there. So before it was, oh, the Karka are just here because they've been pushed out by the Deep Sea Dragon. We now know that's not true. There is some kind of other monster out there. Did that push the Karka out? Or were they pushed out at all? Well, here it says, extensive studies of the Karka have revealed that their territorial aggression is strategic. Their durability gives them favorable odds in directly attacking perceived threats. Rift Stalkers display similar behavior, and naturalist efforts to be tolerated by Karka hives could prove useful if we locate an unbranded specimen. So hold on, we've never seen an unbranded Rift Stalker? Is that what they're saying? Rift Stalkers use the Karka model, but I always took it to just be, okay, these are supposed to be weird mist creatures, but here you go, here's the thing, but we couldn't get a whole new model in there. I mean, literally, that's the same thing. But maybe it was always intentional that a Rift Stalker looked like a Karka, right? Maybe it was always intentional. And I'm assuming it's because they couldn't make a whole new model. But actually, there's deep meaning there. And there's a real story. In fact, maybe that's exactly what's going on. And that's why ArenaNet put these two pieces of information right the fuck next to each other. Hey? Maybe that's it. Anyway, I also like that the Rift Stalkers are mentioned here. Because to my memory or mind, they were very much associated with like that current events. Where you go into the mini rifts. But I don't know, there were a bunch around in Season 4, weren't there? So we've got the Giant, the Mega Sloth. I didn't really pay attention. How does this guy fight? Does he do the full suite of raid shit? Well, yeah, he's doing that. There was a knockdown at the start of that. I can't break a bar to kick him out of that, though. So he just ended it on his own. Well, someone else is participating big time in the event here. It's actually going to finish. Oh god, the game is so oddly quiet right now. Why is it so quiet? Is that just on my end? Do you guys hear it quite fine? Alright, so there you go. So that's those. Let me just come out here and just check on the balcony on the other side. There might be some NPCs chatting away or something. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so a couple of creatures. Now what have we got? Well, an empty exhibit space. Looks very grand, but unfortunately nothing really to look at. Here is a statue of a Messiah. We kind of saw one already in that other mystery corridor. But this is specifically of Lazarus the Dyer. And this might be interesting because, you know, we might get a little bit of more of Mabon's take on Lazarus. Remember there was that thing about, like, he was like, oh, should I Should I have done something with Lazarus? Fuck, did I forget something? When he heard the news that Lazarus was dead. But they don't write very much here. They just say Lazarus was rumoured to be the last living Messiah. Unchanged and as calamitous as he was during the Age of Beasts, Lazarus finally met his end in 1338 at our hands. This is kind of weird that we hear about the Age of Beasts here. My instinct is to say that that's an Elder Dragon, the Elder Dragon Age or whatever, but is it? What was the Age of Beasts? What ages have they written about? Wasn't it an Age of Dark? No, it was a Century of Darkness. It'd be interesting if the Wizard's Court had like a sense of, oh, there was this age, and then there was this age, and then there was this age. That's the kind of Tyrian history that start filling in the gaps. You know, they don't really need to detail very much about what happened in those ages, but the sense that those ages existed. So here we get something called the Serpent Vanguard. It's a giant golden snake. Commissioned for the joint coronation of Queen Nala and Dala, the last rulers of the primeval dynasty. So this is a Loner Law. You meet Nala and Dala. Well, first of all, in Guild Wars 1, when you're at Istan, out in the distance, like, there's two statues. You can see it, I think, from Amnoon, but certainly the Mittani Keys. They had like two statues to these two queens. Guild Wars 2, and you know, a bit of information about them. Guild Wars 2 expanded on them a lot, and when you do the story instance at the Tomb of the Primeval King, what a great location, by the way. Fucking POF was so good with some of this stuff. When you were up here, you know, you meet both of them, and I think in Season 4 they came back very briefly as well for a bit, when the ghosts help us fight. Anyway, the last rulers of the Primeval Dynasty, the sisters adopted twin cobras as the symbol of their reign, representing the duality of venom as a deadly poison and powerful medicine. Pairs of these large cast metal sculptures were erected in cities and villages that hosted the queens during their royal progress and scattered during the Scarab Plague. A discarded original design depicting a single cobra with two heads was not practical for rapid assembly. This is all really great. I love this. This is like 10 out of 10, like really nice world building. It feels very real to me, really cool. And as far as I know, that's all new as well. I don't ever remember hearing about the iconography of the cobras in association with Nala and Dala. I don't remember that. Maybe there was some fleeting reference before, but that's really great. That's like really good. Here we get a runic jar. Again, lots of these in POF. And in fact, just so that you guys know, this jar here has a secret in it. I can't remember what it is. But you come in here for some reason. Some achievement or something. In this map. So if you guys have never been in here, come in here. Because there's a thing in here. But these are all really cool as well. And again, these are a big highlight from POF to me. POF just had such great environments, didn't it? Oh my god. Okay, so this rune jar. Djinn rune crafters have long used these vessels to cleanse magical artifacts and immerse them in desired energies. Crafters traditionally dwell within them during the process. The interior crystals are often mistaken for branding by modern observers, but they're simply clusters of cultivated amethysts. I wouldn't be surprised if online I've observed at some point in some video, like here, not here. Oh my god, PF so big, PF so good, so big, so good. Here, this giant urn here. You know, you go in it, and there's the Jackal portal, and it takes you inside this urn, which is buried inside the mountain that you otherwise won't see. And then there's this one. These are all full of these crystals and things. It's really cool. And again, that's a nice little bit of detail that I'm not sure maybe is written somewhere in POF. You know, because POF also had that amazing flavor text on all of, like, the items. Which SoTO is kind of missing a bit, I'm afraid to say. Place is a mess without Ilse, and I doubt a script will keep things in order. If you have any doubt that Urchik will throw all of her might into the role of museum director, you don't know her very well. So I'm not being very emotive with this. Especially with Glade at her side, where they may fall short against Ilse's experience, they bring more heart. And I think we could always use more of that, especially now. Do you know what? Shut up! I do remember when Ilse dragged me through the dirt for placing the augury scrolls out of order. She followed Isgarin's path too closely at times. I don't know who this character is, but come on. Someone comes with a practical issue. Look, this person's not qualified for this post. Sorry. You don't get to turn around and say, oh, but they got lots of heart. No, 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 look. Keep the museum in order. It doesn't matter if Urchik has heart, all right? It doesn't matter. It's not a response. Anyway, I'm interested in the original curator. Also gone. You notice how many characters there are who seem to have left. I wonder if they all had personal issues with, you know, the ethics of some of the shit these guys do. I should remember the urn? Really? Why is that? Okay. Well, here's a statue of Cormyr. It's excuse me. It's interesting to me that this is titled Spear Marshal Cormyr as Goddess of Truth instead of Truth and Knowledge, because it's a museum. Surely you'd want to emphasize the knowledge bit. Also, how truthful really is she? As soon as she ascended, she became just as cagey as the rest of them. And what she said to us in the library scene's full of heart. Whatever, anyway. Contemporaneous accounts of Cormyr's mortal life and ascension contain valuable information about the nature of godhood. Now, don't rely on these accounts, guys. I mean, you can live it. You can literally be her contemporary by playing Guild Wars 1. You can go back in time and play through the Nightfall campaign. In private writings, several of Cormyr's lifelong allies expressed a belief that Ascension had killed her. While the human... Oh, this one's really good. I remember this one now. This is great. So yeah, what actually happened to Cormyr? She runs into that giant ball of energy. And next we see... And I made a note of this in my Nightfall Let's Play as well, way back when. You don't even see actual Cormyr anymore. She's immediately the avatar of Cormyr. That's what comes out of the energy. So what the fuck? So in private writings of these characters around the Nightfall story, several of her lifelong allies expressed a belief that the Ascension had killed her. While the human pantheon is evidently self-directed, they may also be collectively immured. Similar methods of magical indoctrination, such as dragon corruption, forced awakening, override the subject's core values and loyalties, compelling them to, air quotes, voluntarily prioritize imposed goals. And here's Narashi. Okay, so if I remember right, I'm not going to wiki it. If I remember rightly, Narashi was like Lonai. It was one of these like tertiary characters in the story who was very present, probably in Istani. Probably was there at the command post after the assault on Corner goes wrong. Might have even been there in the post-game stuff. So this is kind of just like... This isn't like a hero. This isn't one of the main characters of Nightfall, but a very, very present character. Probably a skill trainer or something in the... A character like Narashi was revisited in Season 4 with the Joko stuff. I think that was Lonai, though, wasn't it? Who'd become awakened at that point. And was like one of the mini bosses, or was like being hinted at or something. I can't remember. So Narashi says, I feel no more warmth from this goddess than I would if Abaddon had left her dead on the ground. I hope I can bring myself to love her, but she's not my Cormyr. Now that's so cool, because what the ArenaNet have done here today in 2023 is they've put an interesting new twist on... You know, you look at those characters in the first game and they're lifelong allies and, you know, they really care about each other. And now there's this kind of empty, hollow, sad element of the Ascension process. And that's amazing for two reasons. One, you know, it's just a tragic story, right? And it continues this idea of, like, are the gods bad? Are we moving... You know, how much does this society really not like the gods? And you see constantly throughout Secret of the Obscure, most of the time when the court is talking about the gods, they're not talking about it favourably. You know, this is the thing that they're fixating on here. Out of everything that happened in Nightfall, the fact that Cormyr led the Sun Spears and did all this stuff and basically did their job for them, because the Nightfall thing is an incursion just like anything else from an extraplanar entity, they're mostly focusing on, hold on, is that even really Cormyr anymore? Alright, that's what they're thinking about. That's what ArenaNet wants us to think about. It wants to question the nature of the gods and their virtue. So that's reason one. Reason number two is it's holding a mirror to Isgarin. Like, think about this. What does Isgarin do? He makes you forget a lot of shit, and then maybe changes your core values. I mean, really, read this again. Where do we start? While the human pantheon's evidently self-directed, so is Mabon self-directed? Really, when you come down to it? He has no memory of who he is or what he does. He only has glimpses. And now he's got a new life with this new guy, and that's everything to him. Is he self-directed? They may be collectively immured, similar methods of magical indoctrination. And here is immediately when the Wizards Court could talk about what they're doing, but they don't. They say dragon corruption, and they say forced awakening. What Isgarin's doing is... I mean, forced awakening is really interesting as well, because how much mind control was going on with the awakening process? Kos was able to resist it and do fine. Was that... Why was Kos okay? Was that just strength of will, strength of character? Talcora, what happened with her? I can't quite remember the Talcora situation. But, you know, Awakened... What was always really cool about the Awakened, as opposed to the Risen, is the Awakened were pretty fully fledged characters, you know, with thoughts of their own, ambitions, vulnerable to emotions. You know, they had their biases and their ignorances. They're people. The Awakened are just another faction, and they were fully realized. So it's weird to be like, oh, they were all just mind controlled, by the way. You know, when you look back at the POF story, as soon as Joko's in jail, there's all these different struggles and vies for power, and you can manipulate them by hiding among them with, you know, Casimir's glamour and stuff. So, yeah, I think this is really cool. It's cool to talk about Cormyr. It's cool to talk about the God's Ascension versus the Wizard's Ascension, okay? Are these the same process? How are they different? Why have they even got the same fucking name? And this is conspicuous by its absence, I think. Like, the things they choose not to talk about there. Or maybe I'm reading way too much into it, and I wasn't supposed to think any of that. Alright, here we go. I mentioned it 1,000 times. Giganticus lupicus. I'm going to give you guys a little story here, just so that you understand why people care about the Giganticus lupicus, why it's like a geeky fan thing. It's because in Guild Wars 1 there was very little lore, okay? And there was obviously the lore about the gods and the Exodus 1,000 years ago at Ur, okay? So that thing of like the timeline, what happened before the game began, they always were very clear. Like the 1,000 years before was very, very obvious. That was always laid out. But there wasn't much story in Guild Wars 1. It was all pretty thin. So it was like the Dark Souls thing, where if you wanted more out of the game, if you were more intrigued by the setting, you ended up looking at the environment itself, assets that were strewn around. You started like asking questions. And what you quickly realized was that there were a bunch of these giant fucking bones everywhere. And obviously it's just, you know, models for a bit of flavor or vibe or whatever. But the devs essentially said, okay, look, these giant bones, they're essentially the equivalent of Guild Wars dinosaurs, Tyrian dinosaurs. Now, in later years, Eye of the North would come out and actual dinosaurs would be there as well. But this idea of big, amazing, ancient beasts that are now wiped out and you just find their bones around. It's cool for all the same reasons that dinosaurs are cool. And back when Prophecies first came out and in these earlier days, you know, there was no Elder Dragon story, okay? None of that 10,000 year Elder Dragon stuff. None of that was there, okay? So it was like you had the god thing, and then you had the super ancient history, you had the dinosaurs, the Giganticus lupicus, you know, and that was it really. But, you know, it was just this, it's like the OG captivating ancient Tyrion kind of thing, okay? So then when Guild Wars 2's coming out, they start talking about the Elder Dragons and stuff. Naturally, how did the Giganticus lupicus slot into this? It's curious, isn't it? And, you know, you got that name, it kind of sounds like dog is in there or something. What are ArenaNet going to do? Well, with Ra, of course, you get the big boss, Giganticus lupicus, in the middle of every path at the very heart of Ra. There's a reanimated one by Zaitan, and you finally get the model, and it's cool. And since then, it's kind of been a bit of a closed book. There's really not much more to say about them, really. Though I would like to see living ones that haven't been corrupted or changed, other varieties. There's all kinds of fun things they could do with it. But that's the kind of level we're at, you know, that's what's fun. And so to get a little bit more lore from them is amazing. You know, in a way, we've already We've already blown our wad, right? Because we've seen it now. All right, it's over. All right, we're having a fag in bed now. The act is done. We've already seen the Giganticus lupicus, but it's still fun when one shows up. And what might the Astral Ward think of these guys as they're so ancient or whatever? And they pick this just giant skull to represent them. It says this skull was retrieved from Arar following Zaitan's defeat in 1326 AE, and it is believed to have belonged to a remnant of their species who dwelled in the city shortly after its founding. It's unclear how they survived. Magical stasis is one of several possibilities. Zaitan called this individual's risen corpse from a hidden burial site that contained a collection of personal effects and grave relics. Preparations have been made to return the bones and artifacts to Arar after they are catalogued and confirmed safe for reburial. So a nice little bit about museum ethics and stuff, something the British maybe you can learn a thing or two about. Actually, I think that whole IRL thing about the British taking a bunch of artifacts from all around the world and, like, should they give them back? It's really the immediate, very naive, straight away thing is like, yes, give them back. Obviously, this is disgusting. It's stealing. It's so on and so on and so on. But it is an interesting conversation actually when you look at like unstable states and stuff that's been preserved because it's in the hands of societies that have had the capability of preserving it much better than others and so on. And there are some I'm not laying one way or the other, right? But it is interesting, and I kind of like the ArenaNet's talk here a little bit about that. You know, they're going to return the bones, are they? That's very good of them. But yeah, I'm assuming what they're saying here is that this is Giganticus lupicus from Arar that we fought. This is literally the skull of the one that we fought. I think there's space in the way that this is written, though, that it's not. And what's especially cool here... Okay, so, like, the thing of, like, one just being there in Arar, it's always been a bit of an enigma. It's a bit like, why the fuck is there one here? The story of Ur and the humans in Ur. Like, they didn't live alongside Giganticus lupicus. The dinosaurs were dead long before then, presumably. Like, what the fuck? That was a city with people living in it. And there's this giant monstrous thing. So here, what ArenaNet have done is they've said, okay, well, the suggestion before was that the gods just bundled a bunch of shit in there, you know? The Jotun telescope is in there, the Aura of Gloss is in there, bunch of shit is just bundled in there because the gods were hiding it. They were just, you know, trying... That was a museum of its own, somewhat, right? Arar explorable. And maybe they put a Giganticus lupicus there, and then Zaitan found it after they left and reanimated it. That was kind of the suggestion, but ArenaNet have been a bit more... They've rounded this out more here, and I actually really like their thing. It's believed to have belonged to a remnant of their species who dwelled in the city shortly after its founding. Now they say a remnant, so just one of these things was still there, and it was preserved through magical stasis, perhaps. And then Vizier Kilbron blows the whole place up. It dies and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and then Zaitan awakes and revives it for it to be killed by the commander 100 years afterwards. It's pretty cool, though. I don't really know if that's going anywhere. It's just fun to read about. You know, a new mini-X pack where we go to an uncharted area of the world where a lot of them are still alive or something might be fun, but I don't know. It's a bit of a flat story. I don't know what more there is beyond novelty to that. Okay, so we got the Shattered Templar. Lots of Alona-y things. Very few of these figures survive in the present day. None have been found intact. Their collapse is consistent with deliberate destruction rather than age or weathering, although it's difficult to draw further conclusions from the statues themselves. The artists, their intent, and any motive for destroying them have been lost to time. In the distant future, your own perspective may hold the key to understanding mysteries like these. Have you written it down? Alright, we got two things here. The second paragraph, I guess I'll start on. I imagine that in a museum, someone would write a piece of information like this, you know, for a tourist to be like, ooh, I'm involved, you know, like, I buy that. You could probably go to museums IRL and find things written just like that. But also, is there a meta level which is essentially saying to lore enthusiasts, hey, write on the forums about this, what do you think? If we like your idea, maybe we'll put it in. Is that going on there? Is there a meta level to that? What's my perspective? on these statues. I don't know what I think of when I read this, especially the deliberate destruction and stuff. And in fact, isn't it the same? It makes me think of the solitary colossus in it's not called that. I always get that confused. The solitary colossus is a single like pylon that you break near the ruins of Moira, like down here, to get access to the city to fight Varesh. It's not the same thing. But it is here in Guild Wars 2, the thing I'm talking about. So just a quick recap. Oh, you know I mentioned the attribute quests the other day when I was talking about Galrath? One of you guys dropped a comment and did point out, and rightly so, that that's not an attribute quest. The Galrath quest was not an attribute quest. Totally missable, totally irrelevant. The attribute quests were later, around Jock's Forge. When you, obviously, which makes much more sense. But yeah, in Guild Wars 1, one of the attribute quests was here. You went with a forgotten... Okay, the full story is this, that there was going to be a quest... There was going to be a quest in the game where you were supposed to take a bomb, like a nuke, to a statue to blow it up. But it never got fully implemented. So what the devs did instead was an interesting thing. I don't actually know whether it's a bug they just ran with or what. But you know, like the idea of like LODs in video games, right? Like you look at the far distance and like, you know, that model of that tree over there is a more simplistic model, right? With a more basic model, a cheaper texture on there. And then as I run close to it, that LOD, that swaps, right, to the real asset. And it does it nice and seamlessly. And there you go. That's probably actually a bad example. And, you know, in most video games, you get a graphics setting to, well, that's limit detail of particle effects. You know, you get like a long LOD distance here, for example. I have it on ultra. If I put that on low, it would make them look shittier when they're far away and stuff. So they had an LOD of the statue standing, but the idea was in the quest you would blow it up and it would fall down. So then they also had it when you were near it, the statue fell down. But because the quest didn't get implemented, essentially they just left it. So you had a really cool mirage effect in the desert, which was when you were looking from a distance like this in Guild Wars 1, you would see this fuck-off giant statue on the horizon, like a massive statue. And it looked amazing and really cool. But as you walked close to it, it would just fade away and you'd realize, you know, as the LOD swaps basically, oh, it's not there at all. It's actually fallen down. And its body forms a bridge. So, you know, there was this massive chasm, this gorge, and you would have to walk across the bridge. And in the end, there was an attribute quest there that you would do, but it wasn't nuking the statue. The statue would already fall down, and it was just in the shadow of it or something like that, right? So anyway, so that's the story of the statue, and it was kind of cool and became kind of iconic. And then later in Guild Wars 1, when Nightfall came out, whose northernmost boundary was here, you could walk to the northernmost boundary and look to the Crystal Desert. None of this water was here. This was all desert. You could look across to the desert, and even from Nightfall, a totally different expansion, you could see the statue standing proudly there, knowing, though, that if you actually walked there, it would fall down. So, you know, it was just a nice little thing, and a kind of a well-known thing. And the super weapon that was being used to blow it up got referenced again in the Dermond Priory archives in Guild Wars 2 years later. So whatever. Anyway, and here it is. And then Path of Fire came out. This is it, guys. We're at its feet. Obviously, there were no mounts in the first game. In the 250 years, a part of its shin has fallen down here, you see? So it doesn't work as a bridge anymore because a part of its leg has fallen. But this used to bridge this whole gap here. And in Guild Wars 1, you'd walk across it, and, you know, you can go watch my original series if you're really feeling geeky about this stuff, and you'll see it. And in Guild Wars 2, you know, it's just got a vista. Anyway, when I think of the head, I think it's this, and it is. I'm right. There's the head. It's fallen off. So in the museum, there's the head. We have another head. What they're essentially doing here in Secrets of the Obscure now is they're saying, hey, there's loads of these, and they've all been toppled. Why were they all destroyed? So if I really wanted to tackle this mystery, I think what I would do is I would go to the wiki for those quests. Also, another bit of trivia, I might be wrong about this, but Viper's gear in Guild Wars 2, the named equivalent is Yasith's gear. Yasith's, you know, if you're wearing Vipers, and a lot of you guys probably have worn Vipers because, you know, it's been raid meta for so long, or just high-end PvE meta for so long. I'm pretty sure Yasith is the forgotten quest giver for the quest based with that statue, I think. If not, then Yasith is like one of the Domain of Anguish guys instead. I actually have one of those character names in Guild Wars 1, Yasith Sarith. I had a bunch of... basically, I used to farm the Domain of Anguish, and all my farm characters were named after NPCs there. Oh, that's the library. So yeah, I don't know. I would probably read that wiki page and see if maybe there's a reason why the Forgotten really wanted it to be destroyed or something, or who destroyed it. It's just a fun nod back, a really geeky fun nod back to people who get all of that stuff. Okay, so... Oh my god, and that's not it. That's the secret room. Oh, there's a rift here, though. We should definitely do that rift. So hopefully that's fun. This is one of those rare moments. I feel like I've probably provided some good value in the commentary there. Because I have absolutely no doubt most people just looked at that and thought, oh, that's just a head. And then moved on with their lives. Here we go, there's a rift. I guess the other little thing I would add to that mystery is maybe it has something to do with the fractal. You know, the guy chained up in the fractal, the cliffside fractal? His head doesn't look like that. Obviously, it's a different model or whatever, but maybe they're associated somehow. Maybe those cultists that had him chained up were also... Maybe, I don't know, maybe there are different facets of those creatures and they appear as regular statues sometimes, or... Maybe whatever caused the cultists to be pissed off with the one in Cliffside, like, influence future generations to have, like, certain practices and customs to tear down these giant statues. Even though there's really no reason to do it. But who built them in the first place? I don't know, just a real enigma. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of meta text where Arena is like, what does the community make of this? Anyone got any good ideas? We'll write it. Oh, Rocker, have good luck, man, with the job interview. Best of luck to you, dude. He's probably already gone and not going to hear me say that. But best of luck, dude. And to anyone who watches this, and then... It's weird to think people probably have watched a WoodenPotatoes video right before an interview. Or, you know, you're even sitting there in the waiting room with a headphone on, you know, you get to calm down. Just think about Guild Wars, it will relax you. The Crystal Desert used to be a sea, right, when Abaddon was still around? Are these statues back there when it was a sea? Good question. I think the idea is, yeah, because it's on, like, this big, you know, like, you get, like, American deserts, those, like, I can't remember what they're called. But, you know, just single rock formations that jut high out among the rest of the desert, you know. And they've been eroded away for thousands and thousands of years by rainwater and, you know, by what were once coasts or whatever. Essentially, that statue's on one of those, right? So maybe it was there. Maybe it was an island once upon a time, and the statue had been built on the island when it was the Crystal Sea. The question is whether it was a sea before Abaddon got there. Because the story is that when Abaddon falls, the Crystal Desert dries up. And that's either specifically because of the gods' battles themselves was enough to rip up a whole sea. Or it's that Abaddon was the god of water, right? So maybe when he's banished from this realm and thrown in prison, he can no longer influence that stuff. So he had brought life to this area of the world. His favoured people were the Marganites, sailors of this area of the world. Once he's banished, it all just plunge it all becomes a desert. So does that mean it was a desert, gods get here, it becomes a sea, Abaddon gets imprisoned, goes back to desert? Or was it always a desert, gods get here, Abaddon likes it, Abaddon chooses here as his last stand, the fight blows the whole place up and evaporates it. It's probably the evaporation thing. I think there's a quote somewhere that suggests it was that. Just through the force of the battle. Well, oh, am I missing dialogue? Because we did just do a rift. No, that's just meta dialogue going on there. That's just meta dialogue. Right, let's head back in again, where once again the exhibits on a rampage. Man, ArenaNet did not give a fuck about the timer of the event refresh on this, did they? Oh my god, why can't I find the goddamn entrance? That's the library. That's the hidden room. Surely it's on the right here. It's not. I'm going to take the waypoint and then go through the library? Out the back of the library. There we go. This works. The Margonites were cool. That's yeah. I really like the Margonites too. I think they're awesome, and especially like they're a bit like Abaddon in terms of like, are they really the bad guys? I mean, it wasn't wrong to follow Abaddon before the gods' little falling out. It wasn't wrong. It was no more wrong than the Zaician following Balthazar before Balthazar went loco. You know, they were people that were blessed and favored by this guy. They got unimaginable power from him. And what? Oh, they should have known better. No, come on. I mean, they're going to use that power. They're just sailors, you know. And then obviously they become antagonists because they get cast down with you know, they pick the wrong side in the battle, they lose, so then they get cast down with him. And Abaddon continues to give them power. They got such cool designs as well. They're my favourite faction to play in Stellaris with the Guild Wars mod. Okay, so that's Cormyr. That's Giganticus Lupicus. This is the Shattered Templar. Again, see? And it's cool. Basically, the Arena have just expanded on this and suggested there's lots of those statues. Next, we have a Pillar Guardian. Which I wouldn't have ever really thought much about. Just like the giant golden snakes from POF, but yeah. Okay, so Pillar Guardian, a popular motif in Alona during an artistic renaissance that began in 1076 AE. This is Guild Wars 1. The revival of large-scale decorative architecture during this period was so influential, it inspired Ebonhawk's massive gates, a staggering engineering accomplishment for a small military stronghold. This piece was retrieved from Archon Bamidiel's abandoned estate after her awakening. Okay, first of all, I don't know who this Archon is. Did we meet this Archon? Some abandoned estate after someone got awoken. That's really cool, though, that detail about Ebonhawk. I'd never thought about that. It's another nice bit of world building. Some of this stuff, because these are the Hawkgates here, obviously, it is very Alolan, isn't it? Some of this stuff, I wonder, have ArenaNet always had this idea? And now they just want to make it concrete? Or are they just inventing now and just thinking cool things? Either way, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but it feels really good. I especially like this Alona influence on Ebonhawk because it makes me think of the Desert Gate, you know. What do you guys think in chat? Or in the comments, and I'll read it later. Do you guys think we'll ever go through this gate? Even now that we've seen what mini X-Packs can do? When would a mini X-Pack justifiably take us there? It's a very odd spot, isn't it? Because the brand is now like a giant fucking question mark as to whether we care about ever going there again. I mean, they had that cool information that is worse there now. But I don't know. I mean, nothing on the world map art is suggestive of anything fun at all. We obviously have the other side of the gate. I would, if they're going to do it, it's got to connect both. I don't care if it's a thin map, but it's got to do both, right? If you think about the size of their current maps, this is totally doable. But I mean, what else? Would this be the top right expansion? But I don't know. Like, I'd rather just go further afield. I think I want it, but I'd rather go further afield. I don't know, it's only 3 maps per mini X-Pack, though. 3 fucking maps, it's so little. Okay, well, there you go. There's a Pillar Guardian. Explains a bit about the gates to Ebonhawk. Next, we have Deimos. I'm not going to go through the whole Deimos thing. I assume you guys know. Alright. The young glaive of House Nephus. So we never heard about this at all. We never heard anything about Deimos' affiliations with anyone or anything before, okay? In fact, and I said this already in the series, so I won't labor the point. I was in a place, after having listened to what the devs said on their stream, it kind of felt like maybe Deimos wasn't even real. It could have just been a part of Saul's imagination. It just could have been some particularly potent, illusory magic cast by a competent Massart spellcaster, you know, a mesmeric Massart. And it's just fucked with this guy's head, and he's been there for ages, and now we get to see, like, this manifestation of his agony. Just like all the spirits that are running into him, you know, his guilt made manifest. That's what Deimos is, in theory. Or it could have been a real demon, but the way they talked about it in the stream really made it seem like it wasn't a thing. But Secrets of the Obscure is twisted all that, and it's basically said, all right, look, the demons are real. Deimos was a real demon. You really did help out the Astral Ward there. You did a part of Isgarin's job by killing Deimos. It's actually a really fucking big deal you killed Deimos. Deimos was no pushover. And so now we get all this fascinating... And this is obviously the best way of doing it, by the way. You know, I don't really like that thing where it's like, it's whatever you imagine it to be. I like things to be a bit more concrete. And so, yeah, now we hear about the House Nephus. I don't know very much about House Nephus. But I will say this, and I'm trying not to be spoilery, maybe you want to think about the fact that the demon we saw in Naos at the start of Secrets of the Obscure looked a lot like Deimos, didn't it? So, House Nephus. Deimos was trapped in Tyria during a failed incursion, using the guilt-ridden body of Saul D'Alessio as a host. So here again, you know this whole thing about demons and emotions? You can kind of see the genesis for that is in the Bastion of the Penitent story, right? Because Saul was in this very emotional, damaged, sad state and became very vulnerable to demons. And you can see, like, they're continuing that exact concept forwards here. So he hid inside Saul, basically. Little did he know, the Bastion of the Penitent was originally built by Isgarin. It was later captured by the Living Massart to be used as a penitentiary. Deimos went along with the scheme, feasting on Saul's tormented soul until a group of explorers broke into the prison and cut down the Cryptis Lord before he could escape. So there you go. I mean, this is really instructive, isn't it? This teaches us a whole other side to what happened in the Bastion of the Penitent. We didn't realise what we were involved with, but now we kind of know. I will say there's a bit of story here I don't like, and maybe I mentioned this on the previous part. I don't like that the Bastion of the Penitent as a location is connected to the court. I think it's just... I don't know. Is it anything like any of these bastions we're in right now? Is it anything like them at all? It's not floating in the sky, it's underground. But why? Is it what? Was it once upon a time and now it fell out of the sky? That's a fun idea, but I mean, really? We don't really get a sense for that, do we? Why is it over there and not over here? Because all of Amatas can move, I guess. All of the bastions can move. So was it once floating over there? I don't know. I feel like this wasn't needed. It feels like a prison in there. It doesn't feel... It never felt like something that was something else and then was repurposed as a prison, does it? Unless I'm mistaken and there is an actual little bit of lore, and here I would ask people in chat to step up if that's true. Because there were a lot of interactables there. Was there a moment that suggested, hey, this place wasn't always a prison? It was just being used as a temp prison? If that's true, then fine, I like it. But if that's not true, I don't know. Was it really that important? And you might say, but it's a bastion, so it's... Well, just don't name the new bastions bastions. So, I don't know. There's another thing I want to talk about here as well that I think is really interesting. And so far, Secrets of the Obscure has been really good at expanding on stuff that happened behind the scenes and their history. It's been very good. But there is a side of this story that, so far, I think the expansion hasn't done enough of. And maybe the post-game lore achievement collections do it, okay? But what I want to dig into is coming from this line here. It was originally built by Isgarin. For what? I mean, what was it? So it's just like another college of learning and fighting demons? Whatever, anyway. It was later captured by the Living Massart to be used as a penitentiary. Okay, so what this does is it makes me immediately think about the fact that there was a point in time... Let me reiterate. Guild Wars 1, there were a lot of Massarts. Only 250 years ago, there were fucking loads of them. A thriving civilization. Swarming Tyria, okay? Hiding, right? And being sneaky. And you had to ascend to be able to see them. But you needed the gift of true sight. Let me amend that slightly. There were a lot of them. And so what this line does here is it makes me think, you know what? There's a lot of story about, like a lot of story about, Isgarin founding this place and abandoning the rest of his people. There are hundreds, nearly 1,000 at least, In fact, over 1,000. I think accounted for. There's over 1,000 years of a seer and a Mabon together in the court, able to elude the other Massart. And I think, I'm not saying that's totally unbuyable, I'm saying that's really, really rich, interesting story. I think that there should be a lot written about Isgarin abandoning the Seers to their war and watching them get wiped out, basically. And about Mabon abandoning the Massart and hiding from them and working with a Seer this whole time. You know, in the skies. The Massart are hiding in their way, invisible, and possibly living in Janthir. And meanwhile, these guys are hiding in their way, up in the skies or whatever. It's really cool, and I buy it. I buy it can happen, because Tyria isn't a garden, alright? It's not like... It's not a little yard that everybody runs in a circle and you can all see each other. No matter how the game may make us feel, it's a fucking world. It's a planet. There's loads of space. There's ample opportunity for people to do stuff like this. But so that's such a great story, isn't it? It's so much there. It's so rich of an idea that, like, oh shit, they built a bastion and the Massart took it over. Surely the court was completely in secret of the Massart. And if it wasn't, were there events where the thriving Massart civilization came to the court? If Eparch was allowed to go to the court and chat with them and leave and all that kind of stuff, was Optimus Caliph, you know, the leader of the Massart or whatever, did Optimus know about the Wizard's Court? Did Mercia the Smug? Did any of the... You know, there's so many Massart. And I kind of really... I want to know about that. If they didn't, I want to hear about their efforts hiding. If they did, I want to know, you know, to what degree they interact and stuff. And that seems like the kind of thing maybe one of the post-game lore collections could do. But so far, I haven't seen too much. But, you know, it almost makes me sad that we just fly by it here. Oh, yeah, he built the Bastion, and then it was later captured by living Massart. Like, well, hold on, holy shit. What did the Massart think the place was? Why did they turn it into a prison? You know, there's a lot of questions there that I don't think I'll ever get answers. Maybe they will. And for that, you know, maybe it doesn't have to be related. Okay, oh my god, the meta event's going. Do you know what? I keep turning the game down, but what I need to do is turn my speakers down. Alright, next we've got... Okay, Lazarus, we already read. Sorry, let me read chat here for a bit. Was Mabon captured during the theft of the Bastion the Penitent? Is that how Mabon mentions being spared by Isgarin? That's a really cool idea. I like your description there as well. The theft of the Bastion. The Massart stole it. That's such a cool idea, isn't it? Maybe there was an incursion and it was in the sky and they managed to drag it down or something. That's such a cool idea. Yeah, I had a very good comment from one of you guys as well on the comments of like the previous part, maybe the one before, where I was talking about Mabon having been spared, air quotes, and I was like, what do you mean Mabon's been spared? Isgarin's people were the ones getting wiped out. Isgarin hasn't spared him. But what I had failed to realize, or what I was ignorant of, because I don't think I'd been given the information yet, is the whole sparing the life thing. It's that they had a fight. The two of them had a fight, and Isgarin won the fight and could have killed him. So ignore the broader society. Ignore the greater story of the fall of the Seers. Just in this situation, Isgarin could have killed Mabon, and he chose not to. And that's the sparing. And that makes total sense. And we kind of did read that. One of the books talked loosely about that moment, right? Okay. Let's keep going here. Giganticus, we've done a lot of these already. Holy fuck. Serpent Vanguard, the Rune Jars, Lazarus, Deimos. Why do I feel like we're only just getting started, and yet we've read so many? We did the Mega Sloth. We did the thing. By the way, here's the skeletons hanging. So that's the Leviathan, obviously. Up there. And I do believe that they have a little placard for us to read. Let me just check this last corner here real quick. Oh no, we already did all of this. Central Tyrian fauna. Oh man. It's quite good. It's like a real museum, you know. You got the smaller stuff here, and then as you go in, it just gets better and better and better. Well, are real museums like that? Usually they try and blow your mind instantly, don't they? And I suppose if we entered from that door there with the Mega Sloth and stuff, pretty good. Alright, let's hit the updraft generators and go up. Unfortunately, I've seen this bony fish asset one too many times at this point in the game. I mean, it's everywhere, isn't it? It's not all on its own really that exciting for me to see, but hey. So Riz and Dwayne statues. Okay, this is very cool. Oh yeah, and we can just use our eyes here. So check it out. These are, it moved. Did you see it move? It's creepy. So this is a funny one. You might not remember, but in Ara, explorable path 4. So for those of us like super nerds and the vets, we're probably familiar with that because we did it. But it's a very long path. It's a dungeon. It was a difficult dungeon. For all these reasons, I'm talking about something that was years ago and only a fraction of the community did, probably. I would hazard the majority of people don't really remember this anymore. But, you know, you fight corrupted statues of each of the gods. The Dwayna one had this whole petrification mechanic where, you know, you get the tears of Dwayna and you throw it to depetrify them, and if you burn through, you do enough damage. It's a cool fight, honestly. It's one of the reasons when I think of fights like that, I get really nostalgic because I haven't done it for ages. And it's cool, you know. Path 4 is just fucking awesome. With like the Heaven Glass Observatory and stuff. There's so much cool shit about the gods in there. It's such a beautiful map. Do you know what I want to see? I really still want to see just Ara Explorable or even Ara Story just come in as a map. But in modern ore, so it's growing back a bit. They're so cool. All the POIs and stuff there are just amazing. They're so edgy and just fucking... In fact, I'm going to go there. I don't even care. Because we're on Liss. And Liss has all the POIs and stuff. I can show you. P4 feels much more expansive. Yeah, P4 is like literally huge. There's not enough content for it, really. But I look at all this stuff. So look, the God Path Gardens. Oh, the Wreck of the Lady Livia is only in story, I think, so I can't mouse over that one, unfortunately. It's not here in Explorable, it's only in story. But yeah, so the Path 4 stuff's here. Zaitan's Rest. POI is actually not there. That's the story equivalent. The Slaughter Crypt, the Crypts of the Dreaming Dead, where are we? The Heaven Crystal Palace, okay? And this is where the path ends, at the Bloodstone's Unmaking. But you fight like the statue of Dwayna somewhere around here. I can't remember where. Maybe in the Vaults of the Hidden, Melandru's Dome. I don't know. Or it could have been the Gardens. I don't know. The Ghost Lamp Way, I love this as well. I have ghost lamps as an equipable item in my thing. The Imperial Barge of Ore as well. I love all of these. The Demon Shoal. Ooh, demons. Of course, yeah, there was a Mustard story here. Anyway, yeah, so I regret this now. There was very little reason for me to come here. We gotta find the entrance to the museum again now. Did somebody just post an image of a loading thing, or have we DC'd again? Go solo, Loopy. There's probably a lot of builds that could do that now. The power creep, and specifically power creep with relation to, you know, quality of life on builds, blocks, evades, resustain buttons, and also still bombing out a ton of damage, giving yourself 25 might. You know, the old solos where you had to, like, perfectly dodge everything for, like, 6 minutes straight as you slowly chipped them down. I'm telling you guys, seriously, you guys should petition for this idea, getting the dungeons into fractals, because you would get Loopy back. You'd get it as a fucking CM. It'd be so good. Don't know how many times I'm going to say it. Here you go. So, on this statue, we get, with a vista. WP, it's pretty messed up that there's a letter talking about prisoners building the penitent. So are these Isgaren's prisoners? Isgaren's prisoners? Oh, good point. But no, I think, isn't that idea that, like, you've got the cells outside of the main structure, and the Massat, like, expanded the facility, right? Isn't that sort of the thing? Basically, like, this area here, you got all these tunnels and things. These were all being dug by the prisoners, and then maybe the real structure, the real bastion itself, was here. The Chamber of the Guilty was always an amazing place as well. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say that that's not Isgarin. I don't think Isgarin's so blatantly evil that he would have had prisoners. But unless it's like the indoctrination thing, but that would suggest that they've all ascended. I don't think that, no, I think that's all separate. That's all separate. It wasn't a prison at all until the Massat were there. So to say prisoners built areas of it is fair, but not the entirety of it. Okay, so we get another rift, and it's on the roof of the museum. So let's go grab that. We've done very well with rifts today, guys. Look at this, we're over 50% done. I'm going to put dialogue on now as well, because we'll probably get some story dialogue immediately following this. I like these guys as well. I think this is the first one we fought, isn't it? These are like the skateboarding guys from The Forged, from POF. But now we get them as like a demon variety. I think ArenaNet did a really good job, like realizing, oh shit, POF has a lot of cool stuff we haven't leveraged for years. And they found a lot of ways to put that into SoTO. Holy shit, that's a lot of confusion. Confusion is so different in PvP versus everywhere else in the game at the moment. Confusion is fucking busted insane in PvP. There are actually two different classes, two different builds at the moment that entirely operate on the principle of pressing one button and winning a fight because you confusion bomb someone. One of them is Skull Grinder with Berserker, and yeah, pin down Riposte. There are other Condis, obviously. But then also Virtuoso with F2. Really, it's just about the confusion bombs. There we go, we get Amnitas Rift Hunting. Was that a T3 Rift I just did? Really? No way. It was. Apparently that was tier 3. And my first one ever, maybe. We get some Essences of Triumph. No dialogue, I suppose. Like, if you get, like, 10 confusion on you in PvP, you feel it. Like, anything you cast, it's like, oh shit, I'm dying. Like, I can't press any buttons right now. There, I just had 20 and shrugged it off. Okay, so, yeah, let's read about Rata Primus. I'm gonna go to the wiki, because I didn't see in chat. Rata Primus.
Attention, Ward. Report to the landing immediately for a strategy
Okay,
briefing.
it is the Sandswept one. It is the Sandswept Isles. Okay, so... Guidance from Rata Primus. Why did they look all stony and petrified then? Because that wasn't long ago. That was not... just so that you guys remember, this was the Inquest city that was built offshore of Alona. Over here. And there's a really cool story step where you, like, attack it with an airship. And as far as I remember, don't we basically nuke the whole fucking thing and fly away? Doesn't it fall out of the sky? Like, properly get blown up? The Deocut crystals recovered from these salvaged golems contain recordings of experiments carried out inside Rata Primus and the awakened incursion during the facility's final hours. The footage is available upon request. Due to its graphic nature, guided orientation before viewing is strongly advised. Yeah, that's really cool. That immediately makes me remember all those really awesome moments in Season 4 where, you know, they were pretty dark sometimes in Season 4. Remember the trailer for Long Live the Lich with, like, all the blood stains on the floor, and there were just piles of bodies and things. It was really creepy, the Rata Primus stuff. I loved that patch. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Okay, right. Then we have a Watch Night. I don't know. We've somehow lost our way here because I can't find the Duena statue. We'll get it in a second. Queen Jenna's Watch Nights are an outlier among semi-autonomous constructs designed by a single engineer with comparatively limited resources. While they're we're talking about Scarlet, obviously. While they're an extraordinary feat of mechanical and arcane artistry, they have limited non-combat utility. A fractal exploring the impact on Kryta if Scarlet Briar had been allowed to collaborate with a Crown Engineer garnered some interest, but was determined to be less valuable than monitoring the Watch Knight's ongoing development. So this is interesting because we hear that they have a fractal where the Queen died and Logan ascended as this, like, draconian ruler or whatever. Could that have been the same one? Like, how did Jenna die? Was it via assassination from a successful... Is that the idea? Because if it's the same one, then it would suggest they decommissioned the whole thing at this point. Because they say it garnered some interest but wasn't that valuable in the end. So I don't know, or maybe they split it off. Maybe there was this idea for this original fractal just about the Watch Knights, and then they were like, that's not so worth it. But hold on, this is interesting with Jenna dead. Let's do one about dead Jenna, and then maybe we'll monitor the Watch Knights. So I don't know. I like that they took an interest in the Watch Knights, though. Because I think, I think this might seem a bit weird to some people, but the whole Scarlet thing, and she was so successful and so amazing, and she did this, and she did that, and that. I think the only way to make that story work is to own it at this point, and to remind us of that, and actually push it. Basically, it feels like less of an arse pull if even the Wizards' Court are like, oh my god, yeah, these are worthy of putting in our museum. They're that interesting, you know? And they say they're limited in one way or the other, but I think that's better. That makes it feel more realistic to me. I don't know. Obviously, you don't want to keep going on and on and on about Scarlet, but... So it's kind of... I just really like that, basically, is what I'm saying. We got cleansed Jade mechs here. Last time we saw this, these were empty, and I thought it was because of the event, but I guess it's not. It's difficult to obtain intact mechs that have been verifiably corrupted by and purged of Jade sparks, as Jinlai Jade does not keep records of devices after returning them to service. The samples here are under observation for lingering effects that would be undetectable without the Astral Ward's specialized equipment. I like this as well. You know, there's that understory in EOD about how Jinlai Jade are not great. There's a lot about Jinlai Jade that it's like, there could have been a really fun story there, and a really interesting story about, oh my god, what's her name? Why am I forgetting her name? Jesus Christ. Who's the leader of Jinlai Jade? I keep wanting to say Min. It's not Min. June. Jesus Christ, June. There's kind of a really good story about, like, how June is, like, really unethical, like, with all the dumping in the Echoval Forest, and, you know, just basically doing a lot of scummy, cutthroat stuff to get ahead. And of course, we see how End of Dragons goes. We kind of just forgive her for all that, and then, yay, let's fight with her. And, you know, there was this really interesting dichotomy between Lee and June, and then in the end, it's just Lee is the bad guy, and she's the good girl, and then that's it. And, you know, I don't want to rehash all that review and critique that there's boundless amounts of online, but it's kind of nice here to see that, like, they're emphasizing still that Jinlai Jade are a bit dodgy. Like, what the fuck? They don't keep those records specifically? Like, that's dodgy. And here we are being reminded of that. And something hopefully to keep in mind for when we return to Cantha, and maybe they'll actually follow up on some of those stories. So here we've got, okay, so here's the Dwayne statues. I can't believe I could not think of the word June there. The Orion sculptor, Malcor. Oh, this one's really good as well. Okay, so just a bit of background. You know, you got like these god statues everywhere. There's a story dating to like the launch of Guild Wars 2 where we hear about who made them. It was this guy called Malcor, and he fell in love with Dwayna. I wouldn't say Lissa for a bit there. He fell in love with Dwayna, but to look upon the gods is to go blind, and you can't really do it. But he fell in love with this divinity. It drove him mad. There's a really, really cool story at Malcor's Leap, the meta event chain, about how even in death as a ghost, he's still like obsessed. And so yeah, and he could never really, and you can find all of his like ruined statues out in the water down here. I think it's called Malcor's Anguish. If you go there, there's like a bunch of broken statues where he keeps trying to create a depiction of Dwayna, and it's never good enough. It's never good enough. It's never good enough. It's never good enough. There's a really good story, but there's a plot hole that happened as well, because ArenaNet gave us all of this story, right? And then also at launch, actually even in Guild Wars 1, we also had this story of Grenth, right? Which was that Grenth, the current god of death, took that position off of Doom. Doom was a lot like Abaddon, was sealed away, still continued to exist. He was bound in the underworld. Grenth usurped him. Grenth had different ideas about resurrection and so on, was more lenient with it. Doom was much more final about it. And in Guild Wars 1, you go to the Underworld story and you fight Doom. And in Guild Wars 2, you go to the Underworld and finally destroy Doom, and Desmina takes over, right? But there's kind of an inconsistency between the Malcor story and this thing about Grenth, which is, in Guild Wars 2 at launch, they kind of give you this conspiracy theory, and it's a really cool story, but the idea is that Grenth might be Dwayna's son. And so there's a weird thing about the timing as to like, okay, but we have Grenth statues. So did Malcor actually do the Grenth statues? How is that possible? Was it someone else if this is actually true? Like, what's the story here? And I can't remember exactly what happens, but in the very end of the personal story, if you choose the gods episode here, like the conspiracy is like laid out or whatever, and they're like, that's the biggest secret of the Church of the Undead, or the Church of Grenth, that actually Grenth is Dwayna's son. So, and sorry, what's the idea? Malcor's the father, right? Wasn't that the idea? But the point is, then the timing doesn't really work. No, was it that Malcor's the father? I can't remember. What the hell? Jesus, all these holes in my knowledge now. I'm not very impressed with myself. But yeah, so, and then you could see this was Doom's area, which is why I'm mousing over it so much. So anyway, there was this little inconsistency. Now we read this, and here's what this says. The Aurian sculptor Malcor is understood to have designed the statues of the human pantheon found in most sites of worship. And then they say, although evidence suggests Grenth's representation may have been the work of an anonymous later artist. So look at that. They kind of like acknowledge the plot hole or the weird bridge thing. It's pretty good. Only Dwayna's statues were significantly transformed by Zaitan's corruption. And here we're talking about... Actually, is that true? When you fight, like, the statue of... Hold on, I mean, there are statues of all of them, right? And they're all different. Isn't there a full suite of them? It's not just the Dwayna ones. Might be interesting to pull up those models, because they're really gorgeous. They're very, very, very pretty. Her statue's spine is showing. Is it really? I kind of want to get them. Hold on. We're going to do it. Let's just chill for 1 second here. I want to get you guys these pictures. Risen statue. I'm sure there's a really good, like, render image of these somewhere. Yeah, just to confirm here on the wiki, since I'm here, the wiki has the quote. The quote from that story thing I was saying is, Priestess Rhee says that Grenth is Dwayna's son, but only a half-god. His father was a mortal sculptor, but that is one of the greatest secrets of our church. So they don't 100% confirm it, but it seems very likely Malcor was the father. Which is weird because, on the one hand, you've got this story of him going mad, because he fell in love with her, but he could never get that close. On the other hand, it sounds like actually he did get quite close at one point. They had a baby together. Which makes the tragedy of the meta event even worse. Think about that. His obsession with her and his love for her. It's crazy. You could even put a really dark, like kind of gross twist on that as well, in terms of like what Dwayna did there with a mortal and just abandoned this mortal. It's kind of nuts. And there's another interesting, cool story there about like how the pantheon propagates and continues to exist, and all of that led to the loss of Doom, who, unlike Abaddon, we hear about this like big falling out and stuff. Doom being usurped there's a bit less information on that one, and it is a bit, I don't know whether Grenth is necessarily right, just because he's more lenient about resurrection or whatever. But okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the statues. Where have I seen it before? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? There's totally like a render. Risen statue. Let me try it this way, okay? Let me wiki the name of the area. Or maybe the name of the meta event. Oh my god, I'm so bad at the map now. We've got too many places we can go now. Let's say like the Cathedral of Eternal Radiance. Cathedral of Eternal Radiance. The meta event has the same name. The High Priestess is who you fight. And and they have no image of her. So she's not actually a statue. Hold on, what about a Ra Path 4? Because you fight all of them there. In a Ra Path 4, you go through every single... And that's the Seer Path as well, by the way, which is really cool. Caesar, the High Priest of Balthazar. Well, he's not a statue. The High Priest of Melange is not a statue either. But you do see their statues. Hold on. Let's go to the place. So there's no actual statue at this cathedral. I swear I've seen a render of all of them. I'm sure, I swear I have. Didn't they have a full setup of them? The Meta Event boss at Dwayna is definitely a statue. This is just like a risen guy though. Oh, look up. Was it in the sky above me? There's no... Oh, there's that statue. But that's not an in-game... That's not a model that moves around. I guess the only one that you actually fight as a model is Dwayna, and that's what they're getting at here in the museum. That's so crazy, though. That's really fucking crazy. I swear to God, I've just imagined that then, I guess. I thought... In my head, I thought that every single meta event had you fighting... like a risen statue. Oh, we have a new build available. Likely that'll just be some kind of small patch. Not this way, let's go this way. But I guess it is only Dwayna, and that's what they're saying here. Dwayna's comes alive and assaults you and so on. Not yet. It's already flying up, but we don't want to yet. There's a full set in Ekavald. Well, yeah, I know there's a full set of statues. I mean, that's easy. You could just go to... If I wanted to just show those off, the statues themselves that Malcor made, they're all over the place. The easiest place to find those would be in here. But what I'm talking about is the risen, corrupted alterations. There are alternate versions of them, like, that are risenified. And I don't know. I just must be imagining it. But I swear I've seen even online, like, you know, like an art station kind of post type thing. That had them all standing side by side, like the risenified versions of them. You know, Doom was thoroughly replaced, but it's a shame you don't have any statues of him anymore. Well, statues, I don't know. I've always been very happy, though, because they did do this. I think it's really cool that they had a little Doom area anyway, because there would have been a time where the Orions living there would have been worshipping Doom, you know, and it only swapped at a later date. And I love that detail was there. To have forgotten that detail would have sucked. There's a lot of really nice things like that about all. Like, I love that the Abaddon Temple is underwater, you know. Banished, it was supposed to be hidden from the world. And fittingly, it's underwater. Like, that's just such a cool detail, you know. I can't get over how tanky these guys are. It's really nuts. Doubling the water cooldowns ain't so good. Anyway, he's done. So, and speak of the devils, let's fight them then, I guess. I don't know what that giant slap PBAOE ability is. Cone is, maybe. Perhaps there is artwork somewhere of the statues. You remember that the Lyssa boss was a vampiric lady? Yeah, maybe it was only ever just artwork, you know, they never made it in the engine. Oh, that's really cool, Banjo. Yeah, also quite fittingly, the Great Temple of Balthazar is now also underwater. And he's also a fallen god now. But I don't know, I mean, that's very much just a happy accident, right? Okay, only Dwayna's statues were significantly transformed by Zaitan's corruption. One possible explanation is that Malcor's spirit, which has unusual influence over the statues near his place of death, that's the meta event I'm talking about, might have provided a conduit. Zaitan's emotional motivations remain impenetrable, but it may have chosen to single out symbols of life worship for corruption, much as it warped the religious beliefs of risen temple leaders. I like this. that there is some emotion somewhere. It's unfathomable. It's like trying to understand a hurricane, but it is there for Zaitan. There was emotion. That's a nice little thing. So here, this Empress, okay, I think what we're talking about is either this or even the skull back there. The greatest Leviathan ever discovered in all possible ways. Donated in loving memory by the Bastion the Natural. The Leviathans at this point, I would say, are essentially just underwater Giganticus lupicus, you know, it's the exact same kind of archetype. You know, they say that, and it's pretty big. I would have wanted this to scale up even more, though. But mind you, how much more space have they got? Not much. It's got to be big. Like, really fucking big. I mean, I would clip the tail into the back wall if need be. Because I think I've seen bigger ones than this. Isn't there a bigger one than this even in Giala Delve in the new jumping puzzle that you zipline through? Right? If you don't know what I mean, I have a video on that with Boots. I'm plugging a lot of my stuff at the moment, aren't I? But that's the Shore Eater. And I'm afraid, guys, that's the end of the museum. So it looks like I have seen everything in the museum already. Maybe one of the post-game lore quests takes us back. Maybe we get even more details. Great idea for a spot, though, right? And let's just check on the roof real quick as well. Just to be clear, we did get 2 POIs. There's the main gallery, and then there's also the Hall of Giants with, like, the Mega Sloth and stuff. And that's very good as well. That also feels like IRL museums, you know? Like a different exhibit room. Now, we say museum, it's more of a zoo, really, isn't it? It's like a... Every time I turn my camera to see where that's tethered to, it just vanishes before my very eyes. So that event down there is the Cryptis invasion, infiltration stuff. Some kind of dialogue about a ward. And there we go. So that's the Bastion of Knowledge, guys. Pretty sure I haven't missed anything. As always, it can be hard to tell, though. Oh, here are actually. Hold on. An Unofficial History of the Court, Volume 3 by A. Hawthorne. Now, one of you guys in the comments gave me a ton of information about... Didn't we already read this one? And I think we will learn more about Hawthorne later. No, we already read this. Or did we? It's not very long, and I can't remember if I've read it personally or out loud, so I'm just going to do it here. There's not too much in it, but here we go. So, Volume 3. I expected Weight and Sorrow to be more gentle of the 3, but I was damn wrong. So, this guy has gone and interviewed each character. You know, he interviewed Mabon, he's interviewing Weight and Sorrow here. And Weight and Sorrow, of course, is the most enigmatic and curious of the 3 at the moment to us in the current story. I expected Weight and Sorrow to be the more gentle of the 3, but I was damn wrong. I encountered her attuning the conduits that keep Amnitas fixed in the cloud. Usually mundane work for someone of her skill, but on approach, I noticed the furrow in her brow. Perhaps she was not in the mood to talk of the past. When I mentioned I wanted to learn more of Vas and Akeem, her expression went blank. She watched me. I guess these guys had already left, right? Oh, see, I want a timeline of, like, when do people leave? Was Vas the first to leave? And Akeem. Who the fuck is Akeem? What race is Akeem? Akeem's relic is Condi. And Vas's relic is Condi. Akeem, to me, feels like a Jinn name. Maybe just because it sounds kind of close to Kadim. I don't know, Akeem. So let's see. So he goes there and he asks her about these ex-members. When I mentioned I wanted to learn more of Vas and Akeem, her expression went blank. She watched me for a moment, too long, before simmering into a quiet rage. Not at me, perhaps, but it certainly hit a nerve. Wouldn't it be nice knowing what they were like? Was all Sorrow muttered before taking her leave. Sorrow's assistants assured me that her foul mood was simply a product of long working hours. Repairs to the ring have been modest at best, but I could tell from the dark patches under their eyes that they'd been working the same. So the assistants were working very hard as well? See, what do we read into that? Wouldn't it be nice knowing what they were like? Is she having problems with the ascension process? Okay, look, here's the other thing, right? Here's what's going on. Why is she mad? Why? Okay, so the question is, why doesn't she know what they were like? Because surely, here's the situation, right? Why? Sure, they leave. So what? They can come visit. Right? It seems that when people leave, they leave in a very final way, or on very ugly terms. I wonder if there's something going... Maybe that's by choice, because the only times when people leave is because they're really fucked off. Or maybe it's something sinister, like they get hunted down. Or maybe it's like something about this ascension process. They forget everything that they were when they arrive. And when they leave, they forgot everything they learned. You know, maybe to leave is to sacrifice everything you gained while you were here. Maybe to leave is to re-enter the life you had before. You know, when Waiting Sorrow herself leaves, because, I mean, that's what's obviously we're running through our mind as we read all of this. She'll be following Vass soon, and Akeem soon enough. When Waiting Sorrow herself chooses to leave, will she immediately regain all of her other memories? And I also, on a lesser note, wonder if maybe she did know them, but then she ascended, thus forgetting them, or something. And she's vaguely aware of that, and that's why she's annoyed. Seriously, chat, what do you guys know about Akeem? What? No, Akeem. Yeah. Does anyone in chat know any? And if it's spoilery or whatever, you don't have to tell me. If it's like endgame collections or whatever, I really don't know any. Vass, I get it, is a forgotten. Waiting Sorrow, I get it, is a Coden. Who are some other ex-members? Akeem. There's so much here. I hope these next patches have got the goods. The thing is, in other games, my expectation would be that these guys are going to come into the main story in a really big and exciting way. But I know that in Guild Wars, we're only going to get X number of instances or whatever. And it's like, I'll probably just get a bunch more written lore about them. And I'm just hoping that'll feel satisfying enough, you know? You hope Baltec is somehow related to the core? I mean, it would work very well if Baltec would. But there's always this game that you play, right, where you introduce a new big thing, like the Wizard's Court here, right? That's newly in the world building. Do you fold everything into it? It's a good idea to hold something back, you know? In some ways, isn't Baltec even cooler now if he's still an enigma, even after this? Like, who the fuck was he associated with? Because Baltec kind of had time traveler vibes, all right? There's nothing time travel-y about these guys. And time travel is a very dodgy, dangerous thing to do. I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times. So I'm not necessarily advocating for that or whatever. But, you know, Baltec could be... It's like Dern Vasquez from The Order of Whispers and all that shit. Another cool enigma, not necessarily related. E is the other one. E feels very... I mean, it's funny, ArenaNet haven't done too much to tip their hand here. But it really feels like we're, you know... We're in foreplay right now with the E thing, to use another sex metaphor, which is apparently all I do now. We're really, you know, it feels like they're building to E in a big way. Maybe I'm just reading into that, but yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these characters ends up with like a clear association, but the others, I don't know. All right, so here we go, a new Bastion. We have sailed across. Oh yeah, one of the new things about this patch was they added some new routes between the Bastions. I'm not sure exactly what the story is there. But we're on the Bastion of Strength now. I don't really know too much about the Bastion of Strength or what the dealio is here. It's big, there's a lot going on. And, you know, it's not necessarily going to be boring. The Bastion of Knowledge didn't sound like it would have a lot of lore, but it ended up having a ton, right? It had all this cool stuff about Galrath and Verata. Well, no, it didn't have cool stuff about Galrath. It had stuff about Verata. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's locked, though. I didn't unlock that. Shit, I actually didn't click them all. Well, there you go. So we can get 5 of these as well. I guess I need to go to each Bastion each day. I don't know what the essence of the Celestial does. So yeah, Bastion of the Strength will be next time, guys, since we're already, you know, 2.5 hours in here, coming up on the 3-hour mark. And I like the idea of doing a Bastion each time. Once we're done with this, we have just 2 more. We have the Obscure, which has been teasing us the whole time, and this one, which I can't even remember the name of. Oh, and then the Central Ring, but that's largely the meta, okay? This is not full of, like, lore documents or whatever. It's mostly meta. And while we get these last couple, we'll do the last rifts, and then we're on to the end of the story, essentially. And I will say this just to hopefully keep people excited, because obviously the series is getting a bit. I always feel bad when a series gets to like episode 11. I'm always like, oh, it's probably there's quite a lot of episodes. No one idly sees part 11 and just comes to check it out, right? Anyway, just to tease people a little bit, we will be going back to Naos before the end of this. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Sorry these have been a bit late. I actually was going to record this episode this morning, but ended up having to do other things, so didn't do that in the end. But yeah, hope you guys are having fun, and I'll see you on the next one tomorrow for more Secrets of the Obscure. If I missed anything, as always, if you want to talk about the statue, any fun ideas, let me know. And we'll read whatever that hidden interactable is inside that crate that I just saw. What is that there? An open complaint. Well, I guess we'll see as time goes on. Thanks, guys. Take it easy now. See you soon. Bye.